Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. This acknowledgement was brought to you by calgaryfoundation.org. Now, back to the podcast.
Hey, Gabe.
This is fine.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, Gabe.
What is it? What's up, Alex? What?
Oh no! I had a question for you.
Oh, please ask your question. I love answering questions. I love being questions. I love speaking. What's your question?
Is your refrigerator running?
Yes.
Better go get it then.
Alex, you're the best.
That wheeze is fucking insane. It's like an asthmatic kettle is going off.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey there.
Bonjour.
My name is Dean, and welcome back to the InkGuild podcast. Just go to fucking therapy.
If I develop Sims, delete the channel.
We need to start a revolution.
And you know what? I'm gonna say it.
All of them are fucking idiots.
25 is technically you.
Just say your morning routine.
And that's fucking it. Excuse me?
Where my Grisha's at? Yo.
I'd like you to rephrase that, Simp.
Is my guilty boner. Like, you'll attract the kind of people that are into serial killers. That's still bigger than a city.
It's more than one planet.
Percy Jackson is Greek mythology fanfiction.
Boneless. Oh my god.
I no. Hello, everybody. My name is Dean. Welcome back to the InkGuild podcast, and welcome to season 5. Tonight, I'm joined by Alex.
Hello.
Gabe.
Hello.
Brooke.
Oh no, hello. I had mic issues, I'm sorry. I was speaking, I wasn't putting it up.
Mute.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my fucking god.
I'm so sorry. I didn't want that to happen.
Are we gonna start over again?
No. We're just gonna keep
We're
going.
already in it.
We're already in it.
Yes, hi. I'm here, okay.
All right. We're also joined by Marie-Soleil
Hello.
and Tyler.
Bonjour. Oh.
It's the bonjour after all the talk of Guru-chan. It's too much. It's too much.
It's gonna make no sense with no context.
No, absolutely not.
You can
All
see.
right.
I mean, Dean has the overlay. They can see my name.
Oh yeah, that's the context they need. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that context really clears my head.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, tonight we are back talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. However, I think because a lot of us are going off of memory, like very loose memory for The Legend of Korra, there might be more of an emphasis on Avatar. But I think before we get into tonight's topic, there are just a couple things that I would like to kind of talk about in regards to the season, which typically I don't usually do. I like to make sure that if you're listening to our podcast for the first time, you know that our structure is a little bit weird. We have seasons of the podcast. However, every episode is numbered from 1 to episode 49 right now. And that is mainly because typically I like to, because I'm the editor of the podcast, typically I like to kind of, keep that under wraps. However, or I like to keep the season under wraps, make sure that when the episodes come out, it's one that you're either really interested in or one that you'll probably listen back on later. However, I think because season 5 is I think, a little bit more interesting, and because we have a lot of surprises that I won't get into right away this season, there is one surprise that I'm willing to disclose, and that is our workshop at the end of the season. So us being creative writers, and have gone through a creative writing workshop class, we kind of decided that why don't we do a workshop for a podcast session? And basically how that works, I'll be trying to elaborate, I think, somewhere around the mid-season, just as kind of a reminder. But for those tuning in at the start of the season, our workshop will be episode 60 of the podcast, and those will be, I think, the six of us kind of going over select chapters from our story. However, it could also be shorter stories, and essentially workshopping it in real time. So we will have had time for us as a group to look over the comments and make whatever comments necessary on each of our pieces, because ultimately I think our word limit was, or our page limit was about 10 to 12 pages total. So we have a lot of content to get through, and I'm pretty sure that episode will be long. I just wanted to kind of I wanted to fully disclose that right now. That being said, that is, I think, the only thing that I will spoil for now, because there is a lot that I'm excited for this season. And all of that starts with tonight's discussion on ATLA. If you're familiar with us from last season, we introduced, quote unquote, a new format, quote unquote, for our podcast that we've kind of dubbed chaotic sessions. Chaotic sessions typically means that we just kind of talk about fuck all. There's no structure, there's no set structure like we typically do with some of our more I don't want to say serious, but more critical discussions. So social issues was a critical discussion, creative vision was a critical discussion, Shadow and Bone was a chaotic discussion. And if you guys are familiar with that episode, it just went balls to the wall as soon as as soon as Gabe staged a mutiny on me, and the rest of the episode just went on from there. So tonight's will be similar. So if you feel lost, there are timestamps in the description of both the YouTube video and the Spotify, or on YouTube and Spotify. And I think with all of that being said, let's begin.
I have a question.
What?
Will the timestamps help me get my life together? Because I'm feeling really lost right now, Dean.
Unfortunately, they are only timestamps.
Can you retroactively show me where the timestamps are going to be? Because I need this fixed right now.
They are in the description for the YouTube video and in the Spotify Spotify video audio.
So anyways, ATLA.
All right. I think I'm just going to pose like this first starting point, and then we'll see where we go from there. But let's talk about when we first watched it. I watched it, I think, so I was around when season 1 premiered. I think it was 2005 season 1. It was just another show that was on Nickelodeon, and to be honest, like, it wasn't really, I didn't really think much of it because I was 7, I think. And all I knew from ATLA was that it was just like you had Aang, Katara, Sokka, and in season 1 that was pretty much it. They were just getting on hijinks and shit, and I thought, holy shit, the action is so cool. Like, everything looks really well designed, and like, I tried watching it as weekly as I could. However, yeah, I think me being 7, there were always other things to watch, especially on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. But yeah, just something about ATLA like really stuck with me since then. Like, it had been like this legendary show in the years since I watched it, and quite recently, I think like a year ago actually was when I had the chance to rewatch it because it became available on Canadian Netflix, and holy shit, like they talk about how ATLA, like, you gain a new perspective as an adult when you rewatch it versus when you first see it as a kid, and understanding everything about what that show had to offer, like we'll get into throughout the podcast, but like, wow, God, that show is so good. Yeah, let's get into everyone else's first time watching it, if it was recent or if it was like when you were a kid. Let's go.
I remember, I remember when I was really little. I don't even. When was the first? This was like 2007, right? This is when the series started. It's like 2007. So I
2005,
must.
I think, was season 1, but I could be wrong.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, so when I was really little, that like however the age I would have been at that time. I can't do the head math right now to figure that out. But I remember I watched the very first episode on TV. And I don't know what it was at the time, but I didn't finish it. Maybe I didn't like it, or maybe it was just it. I didn't like have it exactly like the most stable access to television at the time, because I was where I am now. I was in the middle of Smith Falls, Ontario. There are like 20 televisions in this entire section of the country total, and even less of those have access to cable. So I watched the first episode. I think it was probably a pirated copy, and then I never finished it because I never had access to it. And then like just years and years and years went by until I think it was, I want to say 2018 was when, was it 2018? I think it may have been actually later than that. I think it may have been 2019. Yeah, it was 2019 when, like, I don't know what it was. I think it was because I saw an article that was like Avatar is being taken off Netflix in Canada, and I was like, Canada? I live there. Avatar is being taken off Netflix here. So I was like, okay, I have 1 month to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, I guess, before my chance is gone forever. So I sat down and I watched the entire thing in like 1 month, only to find out by the end of it that the article was wrong, which was great news for me because it meant I could keep rewatching Avatar. But yeah, I basically I binge watched the whole thing in just like a quick like, which like in hindsight I do regret a little bit, because I would have liked to like sort of let the show sit while I was watching it and like sort of let me rest with it. But yeah, that was when I watched Avatar.
Mm-hmm. Alex, how about you? When did you what was your first experience watching Avatar?
I did not watch it as a kid. I remember flipping through like channels on the TV as a kid and like coming across it and being like, "Oh, that show looks stupid," so I didn't watch it, and just kept flipping channels.
Wow.
It was like all the fart jokes and stuff that really got to me at that time. And then when I was in like middle school or high school, I think a bunch of my friends were like, "Oh, this show's really good. Have you watched it?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." They're like, "Oh, it's so good. You should watch it." So I watched it. And yeah, I've watched it like 4 more times since then. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like to nitpick a little bit, yeah, the fart jokes thing, yeah, that's fair. It is still a kid's show.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a kid's show, but like, holy shit, there's fucking genocide in that shit.
Actually, you know what I was thinking about today while I was starting on Korra again? Oh wait, that's backwards in my head. Never mind, I dropped my point. Actually, there are more fart jokes in Korra, though.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, not really.
No, my point still stands. I was thinking ATLA is a lot more of a kid's show. People pointed out that if you're Aang's age when you started watching ATLA, by the time Korra came out, you were close to her age. And they did age up that show. Like, Korra feels a lot... It's still a kid's show, but it feels more serious than ATLA did. But it has more fart jokes in it, which is unfortunate.
True. Yeah, I think that's what I vaguely remember from Korra, actually, now that I'm thinking back on it. But yeah, I guess Brooke.
Fucking Nilo.
Brooke, how about you? When was your first experience watching ATLA?
I don't remember my childhood, so I don't actually know if I saw it. I feel like I probably saw a couple episodes at least, because I watched a lot of TV as a kid. But for all intents and purposes, I only watched it kind of recently, like maybe 2019, early 2020, at the beginning of all the COVID quarantine stuff. Because I think I was just seeing like a lot of people talking about it, and I was like, it's one of those things that I should probably check out because everyone raves about it. And I did, and I was like, oh shit, I absolutely love this, and it became my obsession. So I think this most recent binge watch was either my third or fourth watch through of it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I just absolutely love it. I will watch it a shit ton more. Guarantee that. As soon as I finished it, I was like, damn, I want to start again.
Yeah, I mean, like, what? Like, her, like, for those on YouTube, her photo is of, fuck, what was the name again? Of
the painted lady?
Yeah, the painted lady, yeah. And not even that, like, you bring up the fact that, like, you became obsessed with it as soon as you, like, finished it. And I remember, yeah, like, once you were done and once you, like, finished the whole, like, the first 3 seasons, like, yeah, you were talking about it, like, all the time. Or not all the time, but, like, it was, you were pretty obsessed with it for a good while.
Yeah, it was on my mind. But I mean, like, granted, I do that with everything I finish. I just kind of get stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so good. It's such a comfort show to me now.
Yeah. Marie-Soleil, how about you? What was your first experience to watching ATLA?
Don't shoot me, but the first time I was introduced to Avatar: Last Airbender was with that stupid movie. When I was a kid, we rented it as a family from the movie rental place in my town, my small town. And it was all right. We all kind of enjoyed it, like watching it as a family. My dad liked the fights, I think. And then later on, we found the TV series on Netflix and tried to watch it. And that's a cartoon. That's not the same thing as the movie. That's completely different. So I didn't end up actually watching it until I was at university and binge watched it like my second year at university while I procrastinated on my assignments.
Nice.
I actually think I saw the movie before I saw the TV show too, actually.
And watching the movie first, like, that doesn't really lead it to be that interesting of a TV show if you think that the movie's based off of it.
There are a lot of issues,
but they're completely different.
Yeah, there are a lot.
But we're not talking about the movie.
We're not
talking about
we don't mention that. Fuck that movie. It doesn't.
What movie?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
the movie that nobody talks about, but everyone talks about.
Yeah,
the movie that shall not be named.
Yeah.
I believe they're referred to as movers. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
Oh my god.
All right, Tyler, since you spoke up, how about you? What was your first experience watching ATLA?
Damn, my joke got me called out. Shit.
Unfortunately.
So I did not watch any of it as a child at all. I did not watch much TV, period. And from what little I did see, I kind of feel I was in the same boat as Alex. You know, hyper mature at a young age where I was reading very complex novels a little too early and was like, this is weak sauce. Who has this much slapstick and think it's entertaining? Not me. And then Marie-Soleil, dear, introduced it to me this past year. And we binged all of Avatar and are most of the way through binging Korra. And I'm delighted that I took to it as an adult. I still don't think I would have liked it as a kid. Because as a kid, your perceptions aren't as advanced or wide as they are when you grow up. And I would not have enjoyed the show with such a, narrow and specific mindset. But now, oh my God. Front to back, both ATLA and Talak are phenomenal. And they're releasing a tabletop RPG for the whole Avatarverse that I'm going to help kickstart. And I plan on playing some of that soon. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's looking okay. I'll be honest, the system is very narrative looking with not a lot of crunch, but I think that is exactly what they need to emulate the good parts of the show. Not a lot of hit points, a lot more emotion-driven character stuff, and I think they're going to do a good job with it. Kickstarter starts August 3rd. I'm plugging somebody else's project. I know it's weird, but hey, I want this one to get funded. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah. That sounds so cool, actually. And I think that's an interesting tangent that we can talk about for a minute, actually, like the legacy of ATLA, because obviously there's the Legend of Korra, but like projects like that, and supposedly a movie that doesn't actually exist, like just it really had a legacy to it, this show. And I think mostly like that's
the
mostly
live
just
action.
because of the live action that shall not be named. There's
Well,
even
no, the one that's in development. I mean,
there's
Say
sorry
something else.
there's another live action supposedly coming to Netflix, which
Oh no.
exactly, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Just
Didn't the original creators bow to that also?
yeah, they
again?
did.
which makes
That's
me even
never a
more
good sign.
worried.
I'm
Yes.
so excited. I think it's gonna be fucking hilarious.
I'm more
Okay,
excited for the fan-made ATLA that I've seen so much on TikTok. They put like a lot of effort into it.
oh my god, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
I've
think
never,
we'll
I've
find
never
their
heard of this. Yeah, send me a link later because I've never heard any of the thing of this before.
I
The only
pushed
thing I
it
know
like
is that
really
Oh my-
fucking quickly on my TikTok, and I was like, "Oh wow, TikTok really fucking delivers." Damn.
Yeah. Okay, wait, complete like another side tangent, but wasn't there this one like early on when ATLA was blowing up because it was on US Netflix, where there was this one girl who was supposedly like, I deserve the role of Katara, and
Tara, oh my god, the
Had
controversy.
no,
I remember that.
didn't have
I
like,
remember
most of the
you sending that
qualifications.
video to the. I remember you sending that video. Yeah, that was really funny.
yeah, and just everyone, or at least a lot of the people that I followed on TikTok who were like, girl, what the fuck? Just they were all like, yeah. So I remember this controversy. So for those who don't know, there was this one girl, I think, who
Are we actually putting this in the podcast?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fuck
this
it,
is all-
let's throw some
scripted.
shade.
So
this is all going in there.
I
It's all
don't
going
remember.
in.
Yeah,
We'll
I
do it
don't remember
live.
what her at is, but just that's I guess for just like discrepancy. But just what is it? I remember that there was this one girl who like auditioned, quote unquote, by just listing like the fact that she did theater, the fact that she was like Asian and qualified or some shit like that. And I think it's the fact that she said that she was Asian that kind of ticked off people the wrong way, because believe it or not, Katara is not Asian. Like there's a lot of inspiration behind there are a lot of inspiration behind Asian cultures. However, Katara and the Southern Water Tribe specifically, or like the Water Tribe specifically, is based off Inuit traditions and cultures. So a lot of people were like, hey, yeah, so cool, I get the enthusiasm, girl, but like just this is if you want to have like, if you want to nail the cultural accuracy, maybe give this to, or maybe someone who is Inuit or native should have this role. And then the girl fired back saying, no, everyone's attacking me, fuck. I've probably butchered the whole explanation, and no shade to the girl, but just like, shit, that was a time.
I love your what was that little homage you did to her way of speaking? I don't know how to properly quote that. It was fantastic. Do it again.
Interpretation.
Interpretation. Nice interpretation.
Yeah.
But this leads me into a point that I quite like about the series, which is the proper homage and pastiche to both Asian and indigenous cultures throughout both shows. Like, fan-fucking-tastic. Without making anyone like, oh, look at this exotic person from a faraway land, or look at these tribals who are so noble. No. These are people with cultures and societies that work and live and exist within their world. That is the way you do it. That is the only way it should be done.
Yeah. And from what I know, they did like really good research into like, like the clothing styles and like all that kind of stuff as well. So like they did it very respectively. Yes, what Brooke just said as well is, her videos are so good.
Yes, I don't want to butcher her name because I know that I would pronounce it wrong.
Is it linked in the thing? Is it linked in the?
I'll find it.
I just had her. Hold on. Let me bring it back up.
Okay,
She's great.
I love her. Love all her shit.
Okay, so since you put in the chat, I'll just like flash it up on I'll flash it up on the YouTube video.
Call her Jay, usually.
Jay Zhao?
Jay Zhao. I think that's
Jay
how you say
Zhao.
that.
So yeah, sorry if we mispronounced the name, but yeah, Jay Zhao. I haven't actually seen these videos, but I think
she's really good. She has lots of really good videos.
Yeah.
I will buy her book also when that is released.
I'm really excited for her book.
Same.
I guess now we can finally start talking about like some of the more mature themes that they tackled in the show, which for one was fucking genocide, which for a kid's show looking back, I don't know why that didn't stick with me more when I first watched it. I mean, like I can kind of understand it. Like I was 7, so I didn't really have a good concept of like an entire race being wiped out, but like that is bold, having like not just themes of genocide, but like abuse of all kinds, so physical, mental, spiritual abuse, like throughout that show. A lot of morality being questioned. Like there were a lot of really personal stakes that they weaved throughout that show that I think was done masterfully for a kid's show, and really well done even for modern standards.
So let's stick with the talk on the genocide, because in rewatching it as an adult, it didn't stick with me. And personally, I think the way they did it, that was the point. You've got a fun kids show. You've got this very dramatic and interesting backdrop of a world, which we're not going to get into the full world yet. But the genocide didn't stick with me. And I think, again, that was the point. If you're having kids watching this, you don't want them to constantly be thinking about Aang having all his friends be fucking dead. So they included it because it's a necessary part of the character development and the world, but they allowed it to roll away without, causing trauma to the viewers and existential dread in the viewers. And again, for a kid show, fantastically good way to do it. They didn't stick or linger too much on piles of bodies and burning things like in, say, Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. And it's all about knowing your audience. And that is something the show knew intrinsically. And then they knew how to make you keep coming back as well, because we've all come back to it or started late like me and are now fully engrossed in it. And the genocide was a good example of it. And one of the big topics I've been interested in right now is like the colonialism and post-colonialism that the show tackles. Mm-hmm. Because that's a dramatic and complex subject to be putting in a kid's show regardless, but they present it in such a way that it's palatable, that you can eat it up and understand without going into huge discussions about geopolitical borders and nationalism. They make it, again, perfectly palatable for their audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, like, to expand on that too, like the structure, I think, of just how the 4 nations were laid out too was super easy to understand for a kid's show, but like complex enough for like people to kind of pick apart nuances. I think like Fire Nation obviously is very aggressive, very it's perceived as very aggressive, very is totalitarian the word that I'm like, is that an appropriate thing? Totalitarian?
I mean, the just Fire Lord
total control, I think.
Well, that was during, Sozin and Ozai's period.
Yeah.
That was totalitarian, but before and after, not so much. It's still technically a monarchy, but I wouldn't necessarily call it traditionally a totalitarian monarchy.
Mm-hmm. So I guess maybe just what I'm referring to totalitarian, it's the period of Sozin and Ozai. I think the water tribes are very secluded and very like to themselves, I think, and the Air Kingdom doesn't exist. But yeah, what is it too? Just I think it's as another kind of like
you forgot the Earth Kingdom.
The Earth Kingdom. Oh my god. Yeah,
that has multiple kings. It's really weird. The Earth. I never understood it. How like in Domashu, where Bumi is king, but then in Ba Sing Se, they've got the Earth King, who's like the actual king. It kind of confused me how they rule the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah, actually, now that
Ba Sing Se was separated from the war and kind of the rest of the Earth Kingdom in a way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that was the one part of the world build that, despite spending so much time in the Earth Kingdom, they didn't actually look too much at Earth Kingdom culture, at least in the first series. I'll be honest, I think it was a design overlook in that they were planning on Boomy to be the Earth King, and so named him as such, but realized, this might not work, guys. We might need to change that up a bit. Just the thought. Which, if that's one thing I have to overlook for the series, then so be it. Either that, or everyone's the king of their own city-state, but pays homage to the king of the general country, which would work, I guess.
Yeah. Just adds more complexity, I think. Or it just adds more intrigue into the world, I think. So yeah, thanks, Marie-Soleil, for mentioning that. Yeah, I almost completely forgot.
No problem.
It was literally just because of Bossing Say, because in Korra, at least, we get to see just the singular queen who's ruling the Earth Kingdom, and that's who Zahir kills.
Yes. Although I like the fact that they never say died or killed in the show.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is still a kid's show after all. They had to find some kind of excuse, which I don't remember what it was in when Aang discovered like his tribe completely wiped out. Maybe that was it. They had been wiped out or something.
Destroyed, wiped out, taken out.
Extinct.
Something. Yeah.
They'll say extinct, but they won't say murdered.
Yeah, they ain't gonna have Aang walking up there and that weird inventor dude being like, they fucking dead, bro.
Every time Katara mentions her mom, it's just our mom was taken from us, not actually killed.
Yeah.
Even though she was killed.
I don't know. As adults, we can probably piece it together, but as a kid, it's like, oh no, where's the mother coming back or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be kind of confusing for children because they keep saying taken, but it's implied that she's killed because the Sea Raider literally says we are not taking prisoners today, so you know that she's dead, but they always say taken.
Yeah. Just I think
I
a way of
find
like
that even in Korra, the fact that they say it is a little weird and a bit off-putting. Again, I started reading some very heavy novels way too early, but I never liked that in kids shows personally. I want you to give it to me a little more straight, because you give me a lot of hard topics in ATLA and Talak, but you still can't say somebody died. And at the very least in Korra, where we do directly tackle some real fucked up subjects, I think it would have changed the flavor to be a bit more reflective of it. And that's just a personal critique of like children's media in general. It's getting softer and softer. But that's neither here nor there societally. Back onto the show.
I think there's one thing that I wanted to talk about actually, and like I think this was maybe one of the coolest things that as a kid and as an adult still makes me love the show, and that is the 4 elements. The 4 Aristotelian elements: fire, water, earth, and air. I think it was like as a kid it was the coolest shit then, and for me now it's still the coolest thing, because I don't know, just everyone associates that as like the big, I guess like the big 4 of like a lot of magic nowadays. Like it's, you know, and not just that either, like it wasn't just a magic system, but it really told a lot about the person. Like, what if you were a firebender, you were more aggressive, I think, more assertive, you had a little bit more control, and you were kind of out there. I think like sometimes you were a little bit too out of control, which was in the case of Azula, I think. Again, probably butchering that, but yeah, so that was fire. With water, you were a little bit more collected, had a serenity about you, and just that it was reflective through your bending. That like it really involved your entire body, I think. With earth bending, it was that I think you were grounded. I think you were more grounded. You had to have both feet on the floor, and had to maintain like really strong stances to be able to bend. But I think what it told about you was that you were very, I guess, very collected also, but I think more tough, I think, in a way. And with airbending, you would kind of associate as like being very free, being very free spirited, very energetic, I think, but also having a very like good peace of mind. And that was, I think, because like I think the peace of mind in particular because the air nomads were inspired by Buddhist were inspired by Buddhists, so like they were also very like in touch with themselves and all of that. So yeah, any comments on that, guys?
Well, I have a quick little bit. Firstly, what I also like about the different representations of the nations is the different martial arts style that were studied to create the different forms of bending.
Yes.
Again, just wonderfully well done world building and pastiche and homage. But I have a question then for anyone who wishes to answer. Of all the different types of bending, because we do get into alternate forms of bending that go on throughout the show besides the main four, and that's one of my favorite aspects, I'll be honest. What is everyone's favorite types of bending?
Oh, that's a good question.
Don't all jump at once. I'll go first if you want.
Hold on. You can't just drop a question
thinking.
on us and expect us to have an answer immediately.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Fire.
You said we had to prep for
No,
this.
hang on. Wait, no, I do have to
My
talk about this.
my personal favorite, and everyone can see this coming from a mile away, is bloodbending.
Yeah, that's shocking. I'm so surprised.
Amazing.
So surprised. I know.
New information to me.
I am a mysterious character. I know. My motives are unknown across the ages. So cryptic. I like bloodbending, and it's because it adds an insanely dark aspect to what otherwise is, at least in the first series, the most peaceful seeming of the elements, with healing being a direct aspect of it. It adds a depth and a maturation of the concept, because even as I was watching it, I was like, wait, humans are 90 or 70% water. Why can't Katara just like push the water inside you? And sure enough, the writers of the show had the exact same thoughts, and they matured the concept to be able to include every aspect of that. And that's what I think bloodbending is a perfect example of. But that's my go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bit of a problem with that, because literally in that episode, Hama says that they can only do that on the full moon, but we see Katara do it later without the full moon anyway. And in Korra,
Katara's just that powerful. She's just so powerful.
As she should be.
But I suppose actually they do kind of imply that, because in Korra they have that other guy doing bloodbending, and he's teaching his sons, and they can only do it on the full moon until they get powerful enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. I guess my point is invalid.
Your point is entirely valid, and it's to some extent power creep within the show, and it happens in all shows, right? Mm-hmm. I do like their explanation for it, though, because when we get the flashbacks of the trial of Amon's father, whose name escapes me, Sokka, I believe, is the one who mentions, we have met unique forms of benders on our travels throughout our lives. And who is to say that these people are just unique enough that they can bloodbend without a full moon? And I think that's a perfect example of the show in general, because we see unique benders constantly throughout. Even if it's just Toph, who uses regular earthbending, but does it in her own special way, I think that uniqueness as a reason is a good one, at least in this show. Other shows, jury's still out. But yeah.
What about let's go back to let's go back to the favorite bending thing.
Yeah. I think if I had to choose like one of the four main ones, I would go for water, just because I like that it has like the healing aspect and then also the more aggressive aspect. I think that's really fun. And I also like the dude, the water bender, who got the water in the plants to make like a monster. I think that's really cool.
Swamp monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
The swamp style.
But also like lightning bending is really cool.
Yeah. See, for me, it's really hard to decide, because it's really hard for me to decide, because especially because it is like throughout like just ATLA, it introduces one really important like one of the main characters is each one of the school. Aang being air, Katara being water, Toph being earth, and Zuko being fire. And I love all four of them, but I think realistically, the one that I loved watching the most was probably Earth, because just how I think specifically through Toph, because if I haven't said it before on previous podcasts, Toph is my favorite character, and just watching her not being able to see for one thing, and still being able to be the best goddamn earthbender there is was amazing to watch, and just she fucking invented metal bending. That shit's so great. So
They also made her bending different than other earthbenders. When you're watching it, you can see like where another earthbender like stomps in their motions, she's sliding her feet and everything because that's how she learned from the badger moles. That's how they, who are blind animals pretty much, and they live in the dark, have learned how to bend.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Right. That was a really cool. That was a really cool learning sequence too. I think because it introduces, I think, her, like Toph being a very special earthbender in a really cool way. Like,
I really that they included that little detail of her saying, "I didn't learn it just as a martial art. I learned it as just a natural process."
Yeah,
and that was cool because like everyone else learns their bending basically as a form of fighting, but she was like, "Nah, man, you can use it for other things."
Mm-hmm.
And then was still also a kick-ass fighter anyway.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
She's too sassy to not fight.
Brooke, I do like that point because if we look at why Toph learned it to some extent, she learned it almost as a survival instinct and a way to view the world, as opposed to, like you said, a martial art. And I do love that interpretation of it, and it comes up in Korra in the 4th season, which I'm just midway through now. And it really shows in her character as well of how she perceives the world, not just through her senses, but internally as well. And again, the characterization, phenomenal. But Brooke, you're the obsessive one about Avatar, so I hear. What's your favorite form of bending? Bueno?
Brooke?
Brooke? You there?
Brooke?
Are you pulling up a document? Are you
she's got
rolling a dice?
She's got a fucking Elder Scroll ready to go. Oh no.
Where's the internet cut?
Brooke.
Well, I can answer the question because I haven't while we wait. unless
the
Brooke is
light
back.
is blinking. Hang on. Brooke, you there?
What? I was getting water. Sorry.
Oh my god.
What?
Okay. Tyler was asking you what your favorite type of bending was.
Oh, lava.
Lava, very cool.
Nice.
Yes, of course. I love earth bending. I think I would be an earthbender. And then when we got to see lava bending for the first time with Zahir's crew, and then Bolin learned it, I was like, haha, fucking yeah.
So I haven't watched all of Korra and everything, but I'm speculating the only reason he and that other earthbender could lava bend is because of the combined nationalities, because he was part Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom.
I did
That's
wonder
my
about
speculation. That. Does it ever say that?
They don't say that explicitly, but it was like people wondered about that in the fandom too.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
And yeah, to Marie-Soleil's point, that was what I thought initially when I saw the lava bending as well. And I think it'd be really cool to see hybrid bending throughout this series. If they go to make a 3rd series, and there is small rumors about it here and there, I would love to see more hybrid and unique forms of bending as maturations of the concept. But I've spoken a lot. So like, Marie-Soleil, what's your favorite?
My favorite type of bending would, like Alex said, be water bending because it's just so universal. Like there's versatile. There's just so many things you can do with it. You can use it to heal. You can use it to fight. There's nothing water bending can't do.
Yeah, or like people use it for like defense too. Like, when you go to the Northern Water Kingdom and they have like the big ice walls that they like split apart to like go through in their boats and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like water bending.
Yeah.
Like on like when you're on the offensive too, like on ice bending, I think ice bending is also hella cool because like fucking like Katara getting a hang of that in I think in season 1 when she was going up against oh fuck I forgot what his name is, but like the head waterbender in the northern water tribe.
Paku.
Just sorry,
Mhm.
I think it's Paku.
Paku. Okay,
Paku.
yeah, that was
that sounds
a
right.
great sequence. I think that was a really cool sequence.
There's a lot of good fight sequences in that show.
We can get to
Also,
that in a minute, actually.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I saw this once on Tumblr that healing is just a different form of bloodbending.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah,
Ooh,
Mhm.
that would make
because
sense.
it's like it's manipulating the body. It's just
Yeah.
when one form you're like manipulating it, and in another you're using that manipulation to like fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you're using water on the outside of the body to channel what you're doing on the inside of the body, but
It's like a catalyst. It's like a little. Like just like a go between.
yeah.
Mhm. Gabe, since you spoke up, what's your favorite kind of bending?
My favorite type of bending is not going to come as a surprise to anyone. It's a form of fire bending that that both shows have used fucking sparingly, and I hate it. I want combustion bending to be used more.
Yeah,
I fucking,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
right.
fucking adore combustion bending. I love the two characters. Are there
Sparky,
there's two
Sparky,
characters.
Boo Man.
Sparky Boom Man and Julie something Lee.
It's plea.
Please.
Lee.
Julie.
What the
I
fuck?
don't know.
Combustion bender. Oh my god. New
What the
canon.
fuck? I don't remember that episode of Bossing. I don't remember that episode of season 2.
All the Julies are secretly combustion.
They're Julies.
That's funny.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of like, well, okay, it's I like there's I don't know what the lore is because I never read about this, but I like that there's like just so many weird implications about combustion venting that I feel like if they ever did a third series, I would love it if they had like an elaboration on what combustion bending is and how it works because so far what I know about combustion bending or what I understand about it is that you need to get a fucking tattoo on your face for it to work.
It seems like it's like a way to like channel it into like a specific. So because like usually with the bending that's like all around them, but with like the eye it seems to like focus it in like a specific area, which probably I feel like allows for the explosions.
It's interesting. I would love to see if they ever did like this would be down the line because I think the next Avatar in the road if they do another Avatar would be an Earthbender. So this would be this would be down the line. But if they, I mean, it's already like up in the air if they're going to do a third one. So if God willing, they do a fourth one in 50 years, I don't know, 50 years from now, they do a fourth Avatar series. I think it would be rad as fuck to see like combustion bending be sort of like elaborated on and see like what a character would have to do to go through that process because I just think it's super interesting seeing this huge as far as I know, I mean, I haven't watched season 3 in a very long time, but as far as I know, Plee doesn't say shit in like the entire season.
She does.
Like,
she speaks a bit.
She does.
She speaks about her backstory, and I can elaborate a little on combustion bending, just a little.
And of course, all lovey-dovey here.
All right, I'll let you say it exactly because this is new information for me. So yeah, go off.
And I can't elaborate much because again, they haven't explained too much. And Brooke, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't read any of the novels or the graphic novels. I plan to after we finish the walkthrough of Korra to get through all that material as well to prep myself to DM for the tabletop RPG. But combustion bending is a form of firebending specifically that uses the head chakra to focus the energy outwards. It is a born trait from what's been said. And the only backstory we get of any character that has combustion bending is Plea, who states that she was going to be some warlord's weapon when she was a little girl and was saved by Zahir. That is the only expansion we get currently. Not who gives the tattoos, not if they're born with it. All we know is that it does specifically come from the head chakra. Personal theory, if we're going by hybrid benders, I would think that since combustion requires fire and air, that it would have to be an air nomad Fire Nation parentage to create a combustion bender as a specialty type. But again, that's headcanon and speculation on hybrid benders. I know I can't clear it up much. Anyone else can elaborate on them.
I think that well, when you say air nomads, I think there might be like I think there's definitely probably some truth to that, because like, I mean, the whole tattooing of the head thing, that's like a pretty specific thing that like only the air nomads really did. Yeah, the air nomads, they did head tattoos. So I think it's definitely possible that maybe you're right. Like if a child was born in the Air Nation who was a firebender, like there would probably be a whole different thing. There's probably a whole, I don't know. I think the tattoo has a whole bunch of like really wild implications that haven't been elaborated on, and I nothing gets me fucking going like seeing some shit that could be elaborated on but deliberately isn't, because it's more interesting if it's not elaborated on. And also, I just think combustion bending is cool as fuck, and I love the sound effect that it does when it's going like.
Well, off topic from like the bending itself, because I was just reading on the wiki page about this, and everything you guys are saying is following what the wiki page is saying. But Combustion Man, or Sparky Boo Man, was 7 feet tall.
Oh my god.
Oh my
7
god.
feet and 2 inches.
King.
Wait, hold on.
Really?
Was also really tall. Why are they both really tall? That must just be a
he
trait.
was really
of them.
tall as well. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a
It's
trait.
part of the advantage, so you can be tall, have the shooty part be high up advantage.
Be over covered.
Yeah,
all that height to channel that power.
You can't move the head
like
that
you're-
much, so you need the height.
Well, they all have to be. I've just noticed as I'm looking at like Google images, pictures of the combustion, and I've noticed they are all like looking down as they're attacking. So I think that might actually be like a thing. They all have to have like a way that their body can sort of bend in order to do it, like because they need to pull their head back and then they just swing their head forward. So they would have to be tall enough that if they swing their head forward, they don't just blow up the ground beneath them.
I like that as canon. I'll accept that.
Yeah, I'll accept that too. Until the showrunners or until the creators kind of expand on that, then that is legal. That is legal canon.
Legal.
All head canon is legal canon if the creators refuse to explain. I agree.
Yeah,
That goes for anything, everybody. Anything.
Yeah,
So
that goes for what we do.
that
too.
goes for.
while
There are no rules.
while we're on alternative forms of bending, I will say that is my generally second favorite part of the show, besides the world building, is again the maturations of the concept, whether it be blood bending and vine bending for water, because you're manipulating the water within something, or metal bending as a subset of earth bending and lava bending tied to that. The one that I am confused by is how lightning is tied with fire and not actually a subset of airbending. Now, I realize the air nomads were wiped out, so we don't actually get to see any advanced airbending topics besides Zahir's flight, which was very interesting. But I would love to see a matured and interesting subset of bending for air that we haven't gotten to see yet.
Mhm.
The air nomads were also supposedly a peaceful people who did not fight, which when we see the bodies of Fire Nation soldiers at the Earth Southern Air Temple, I don't believe that to be true. I believe they knew how to fight, but like we just don't see it.
I mean, I don't know if this could really be considered a subset of airbending, but it is definitely a violent form of earthbending. The horrific, nightmare-inducing breathbending.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the breath murdering.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We don't see it until we have criminal airbender.
Pull.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even Aang never used he hardly ever used his airbending in a violent manner, except when he was in the Avatar state.
Yeah, he he mostly used it to like help him like dodge other people attacking him. Like it was his technique was very much like dodge and.
Do you think the air nomads killed? Oh, sorry. You continue.
No, what do you say?
I was just thinking, like, do you think it's possible that the air nomads, like the Fire Nation bodies that were found at the air tunnel, do you think they were killed by breathbending?
That's what I was just thinking. Actually, I was going to say that. I was like, what if Monkey Otso was just standing in the corner, literally just sucking the breath out of all of them to be
murdering Fire Nation soldiers?
Yeah. Speculation. I think it's a little worse than just sucking one person at a time. So when we see Tenzin's kids and the would-be air nomads band together to create basically a massive-ass tornado. If you're a master at airbending, you have great control over wide area effects of bending because air is all around. So I leave this for some violent speculation. Could you imagine if an airbender just held their breath and then sucked the entire air out of, let's say, the entire region surrounding a temple until everybody who wasn't an airbender just suffocated?
Oh, yeah, you could, because if you see them make air bubbles
all at once. You wouldn't have to go one at a time.
Yeah, they could just like make the air bubbles like they do when they're underwater around themselves. And then just get rid of all the other oxygen. Just be like, what you gonna do? Also, you need oxygen to burn fire anyway, so maybe that made them
That'd be sick. I would love to see that.
And this is why I think we should have an adult Avatar coming up to get into some more interesting topics. But I digress.
I've always thought that if they ever do a third Avatar series, they should definitely like put it on Adult Swim or something.
I mean,
think about that concept.
Maybe not Adult Swim, but like an equivalent.
I would argue,
like an equivalent, like just fucking like a Samurai Jack season 5, but for Avatar.
Yeah, like I would argue that instead of readapting like Avatar in itself, like the entire like first 3 books of Avatar, Netflix should just make a whole new series with like catered to more mature audiences anyway, because everyone is familiar with Avatar, and given by, the movie that shall not be named, we're familiar with how we're familiar with how live adaptations can go. So why not just take the properties and the interesting lore, like world building and lore, and just create something new out of that? Like if the next we're all familiar with who the next Bender should be after Korra. So why not just run with that and make a whole new series? That'd be so interesting, I think.
They're in the works to create like Avatar: The Last Airbender extended universe is in the works with like the original creators and everything, separate from Netflix.
Yeah, they've got a studio and everything now. The Netflix live action series is scaring me because they're going to age up Katara. And like they're making her older than her brother. They're making her the older sibling.
What? Wait, what?
Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Is Aang
Why do you
the same
think?
age?
Who else is a 16-year-old in this series?
No.
They better not.
Oh
the
my.
exiled fire prince?
No.
The water chief's daughter?
No, not like this. Not like this. Alexa, get me out. Turn off the simulation.
So
They better fucking not. No.
More than likely, it's Netflix, everybody.
It is Netflix.
Find a way.
I get the feeling that I'm in the minority here of actually not minding Zutara. Okay.
Here's the thing. No. Here's what I'm scared of.
No, absolutely not.
Here's what I'm scared of. Zutara alone doesn't scare me. What scares me is the dreaded 2-word trope that I'm terrified of it being introduced to the series that wasn't there originally. Thank all deities that potentially exist, but love triangle.
I'll burn myself.
There was plenty of those because like every single man fell in love with Tara.
That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like
she didn't fall in love. She didn't fall in love with every single man, though.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I was just being jealous.
Got all the girls, and Katara got all the dudes. They were just fucking powerhouses.
Yeah, the thing is though, like Avatar handled the love triangle thing pretty well, I think. And like you guys know how much I fucking hate love triangles. Like Netflix isn't exactly doing a great job with their love triangles either, so I'm scared.
We're gonna have Aang and Zuko have a whole fucking drama over which one of them is gonna get with Katara. There's gonna be a whole bunch.
I vote
There's
we
gonna be
pull a
invented tension between the two of them where Aang is gonna be like, "No, you're trying to steal Katara," and then Zuko's gonna be like, "No, you're trying to steal Katara," and there's gonna be a whole fucking thing, and it's gonna suck the whole way through.
Oh my god.
Aang is not changing his age. He's still going to be 12.
What the fuck?
You're 16 years old, and this little 12-year-old has a crush
Hold
on you.
on.
That's adorable.
That changes the dynamic of the entire group because that means 3 of them are going to be 16 and 2 of them are going to be 12.
Oh no, Sokka's not going to be 16. He's going to be 14. They're switching their ages.
Why would they do that? Why would they
Why?
make Katara the older sibling?
They're taking the whole they're taking the whole Katara as a mother thing too literally. Like no.
They got so are they switching? Okay, so if they're switching the ages, would they then switch like who is the romance interest?
Oh wait, would that mean that they were trying to get Sokka?
Aang and Sokka? Anybody?
Okay,
Aang and
you know
Sokka?
what?
Come on, I can't.
You know what? I want to see that. I kind of want to see that.
I don't.
I don't want it to last, but if they just hint at it once, I will be fine with it. But if they run with it like how they did with Loki and Sylvie, I'll
they can't
fucking
make
cream my
Aang
pants.
and Katara have like a 5-year age difference, and then maintain their whole arc. If they're I don't know.
I mean, I didn't like the romance between them originally, so if they cut it, I'd be fine with it.
I didn't really love the romance between them. I loved the fact that it wasn't really a romance until like the very, very end of the series, and then in Korra, it's implied that they had like a normal relationship after that, and there was no teen drama in their relationship. I was a big fan of that.
So,
and I think Netflix might fuck with that.
Is this a good segue?
Yes, because we should definitely talk about the interpersonal relationships that are portrayed in both ATLA and Talak, and how surprisingly healthy a lot of the breakups in Talak are, and a lot of the emotions are dealt with in both shows. Specifically, I do agree with Gabe in that the romance between a 12 and a 14-year-old is not the forerunner of the show that is touted and held over our heads every season, because that's kind of fucked up. The fact that they focus a little bit more on Sokka's, because he's 16, makes a bit more sense, and the fact that he does have multiple and has to go through a sort of breakup with Yui and an interesting dynamic breakup. My girlfriend's the moon, guys. Terribly sorry.
That's rough, buddy.
That's rough.
And
buddy.
what's the warrior of Kyoshi's name? What's Suki? Yes.
Suki.
And the interesting relationship with that, where they do have a back and forth. I hate, actually, that Korra kind of nips that in the bud and says that they didn't end up together, because Sokka is never shown in a relationship in any of the flashbacks to their adulthood.
Oh,
Did they not end up together? I thought...
Suki died.
What?
Yes,
it's canon that she died pretty young. So they were probably when she died, so that's why they never had any children.
Which is a shame. I loved Suki.
What the fuck?
I would have loved to see their
you know,
kids
like
would
the
have been
whole
awesome.
fortune teller thing was like he was going to have a life of misery and suffering, so it was part of his journey was just losing everyone.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. It's
wow.
Suki did deserve it.
Wait, did you guys really not know this?
No.
I did not know this.
Well, no, shit.
That makes me so mad. Suki's
Dean,
one of my favorite characters.
Were you not present earlier in the call when I was like, I don't know if this is anywhere, blah, 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 combustion bending. And then Tyler Marie-Soleil was like, yeah, this is the first page on the combustion bending wiki.
I don't know. I may have spaced out for a minute.
I'm not a lore explorer, man. So no, I did not. I was unaware that Suki fucking died.
She died fairly young too, which like
Sokka died too, but like much later.
Yeah. Like
mentioned that Sokka died in like his early 40s, but Suki died sometime in her 20s.
Yeah,
Sokka died in his early 40s.
Early 40s,
I think so.
like really, like pretty.
I mean, so did Aang technically.
Yeah, wasn't he like
that was like shortly afterwards,
46,
wasn't it?
48?
Yep. Because again, we have to have
Aang
Korra
was
in.
like 100 or something.
Nope, definitely not.
If you count the time in the ice, yes.
Yes.
But outside of
That
the
was the
time in
reason he also
Oh.
died.
Nah.
Mm.
I guess that's why the wiki said okay, because the wiki said that, and I think I just took that as that, but I didn't factor in the dice.
Yeah, and everyone always forgets that Aang was, frozen for the genocide of his people. But I digress. The relationships in the show, even the non-romantic ones, are portrayed very well. And you'll have to forgive me for speaking more about Korra because it's the one I've watched most recently. Specifically, I do like the female relationship post or pre-romance between Asami and Korra, having both dated Mako and had breakups and interplay with that. The fact that the two of them still remain fast friends and it's shown as a very healthy female relationship, I don't think we get to see that a lot in television, is good, healthy female relationships. It's always fighting over a guy or being just horrible to each other, from Mean Girls to any other cartoon. It is seen as the norm. So the fact that Asami and Korra's friend relationship shows better, truthfully more healthy and more realistic view of it is phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah, I think on romantic relationships I can kind of expand on that with, I think, Zuko and Mei. Despite their differences, they were pretty open with each other, and given the fact that unfortunately Zuko was very occupied, I think, with a lot of internal struggle, Mei was still giving so much of her love, and that I think was one of the earliest signs for me of oh shit, this is a pretty unfortunately one-sided relationship, this isn't good. And I'm not saying it's a depiction that I think a lot of media tends to either underperform in or overperform in. So they either ham up the fact that it's very one-sided, or they're just way too subtle. But I think with Zuko and Mei, it was just enough to show a lot of characterization. You could really, I guess the positive in that relationship is the fact that it showed so much characterization between the two of them. Mei obviously is this very static, very don't fuck with me kind of character, but deep inside she gives a lot of love, despite Zuko, who's struggling a lot internally but is still trying his best. I think in that kind of relationship too, the characterization between Zuko and Mei in that relationship, while not always being portrayed as a good relationship, showed a lot about the characters. And I mean, ultimately they ended up together anyway, so it's it's my favorite. I like those two together.
I remember the first time that I watched Avatar, because I went in with little to no spoilers, as little as possible. So I really only had stuff from the ending spoiled to me because I watched Korra first. So I remember it really fucking cracked me up when I got to season 3 and there was the little time skip, and I was the two characters who I had spent the entire previous season thinking it would be hilarious if they hooked up, actually did hook up and made this hilarious and awesome emo couple at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I was like, oh hell yeah, it happened. A part of me was a little I mean obviously I didn't care by the end of season 3 because this was not a character who mattered as much as I thought she was going to back in season 2, but part of me was a little miffed that Zuko never ended up hooking up with Jin, but yeah, Zuko and Mei were rad.
Yeah.
They were great.
Everyone thing, if we are going to entertain this tangent for a minute, yeah, Jin was fine. I think she was very sweet. She had a lot of charm to her, but ultimately I think she was more or less just supposed to be a wake-up call.
Yeah, no, I do. In when I looking back in the grand scheme of things, I understand that role and story. I wasn't disappointed. I think I wasn't oh, how dare they not do this the way I wanted them to do it. I think it was more it was just a surprise. I was oh, I sort of expected that character to come back, but never mind.
He does make an appearance in the comics, I believe, briefly. runs into Zuko and doesn't realize that Zuko is Zuko. Still thinks he's this boy from the tea shop that was in I think his story was he was in a circus at one point. I can't remember. And
am I confusing these characters?
That's kind of neat. So she runs into him and she's like, and she doesn't. Oh, she's not aware that he's the Fire Lord.
Lee. It's Lee. That's who I was.
Lee from the tea shop, the juggler from the circus.
Oh
yeah, and then he tells her that May was also part of the circus. She had a knife throwing routine.
What the fuck? Hold on, I need to fact check something.
So he doesn't just like tell her who he is?
No, he lies.
Oh my god!
Lying, Zuko. Zuko
And
always
also-
lies. Zuko always lies.
This is Gaslighter Zuko.
There's no way that she didn't realize Zuko's a firebender when he lit all of the lamps.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
How
She
to
knew.
put
She
two and
ain't
two
no
together.
snitch.
But
She
she
knew.
didn't
She
snitch.
just ain't no
Yeah.
snitch.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
better
She's
than-
like, that's
is
cute as
awesome.
shit. You heal yourself from me? I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're firebending to light the lamps so that I can have a pretty date? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
snitch either. I mean, they're in Ba Sing Se. They don't know about the war, right? What does she have to fear?
That is
Exactly.
Who cares?
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
There is no war in Ba
There is
Sing
no
Se.
war in Ba Sing Se.
This brings us to a very interesting topic as well, which is police states that were displayed in a children's show.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Dai
that's,
Li,
that caught me off guard. Ba Sing Se caught me like way the fuck off guard.
it did,
Yeah,
and I think that's what's so wonderful about it. Might I say, the Dai Li fighting style is actually dope as shit.
It is, yeah.
And also the metal bending, like metal whip fighting style, also very dope. But that Dai Li hand grab style for secret police to really get that point in of literally grabbing someone off the street. Their weapon is a cestus that they earthbend because it's made of stone. Phenomenal design on that. But the fact that they snuck a police state into a children's show, especially with like the sort of, MK Ultra mind control going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think what I think that was like when that arc started. That was like because I was watching Avatar, and up to that point, I was like, oh yeah, I like this show. And then like when the Ba Sing Se arc started, that was sort of like when it clicked for me why people fucking love this series.
Mhm.
And like I think it was even as an adult watching it, I was like, it was the first, not the first, but like it's pretty rare that I watch a series of any kind, adult or kids show, that has like a bad guy, like a definitive bad guy, like the Fire Nation is just like they're just the bad guys and they're just evil and they want to destroy everything and they're just bad dickheads who just do shit. But then it has the fucking cojones to be like, but like ultimate super evil is not like the only form of evil that exists. There can be fucking police states that exist, and there's like not everything is as black and white as like oh, you are either a super duper good guy or like a genocidal regime. There are like other forms of bad that are like subtle, and I was like, I was completely caught off guard that this show was willing to explore that as a theme.
It explores morality so interestingly because, like,
Yeah.
you really, I feel like you really get the sense that like the gang is like it's really them against everything. Really, like they really have to do it on their own because every time they try to turn to someone else for help, they're met with like a police state or like people that want to like abuse Aang's power and all this other stuff. Where it's just like you get the sense that really it's really just these like 5 kids against the world.
I mean, okay, I don't know if this was the show's intention or my reading into it, but like I think it definitely speaks to the idea that like a fascist regime like the Fire Nation like really couldn't come to existence in a world that wasn't already like kind of fucked up in its own ways. Like if the Earth Kingdom and if the Water Tribes were like I mean, I don't know if the Water Tribes were all that bad. They have some bad apples, but they're not like terrible people. But the Earth Kingdom was fucked up in its own like kind of super selfish isolationist way, and I think there's something to speak to that if a nation like that hadn't played neutral so much, the Fire Nation probably wouldn't have like taken over the world as quickly as they did. Like if they had stepped in when the Air Nation genocide had started, you know, maybe shit might have been different. You know, the general vibe that I get from the world of Avatar, like in the first series, definitely is that like the Fire Nation is like an evil group and they have to be stopped, but what a bulk of the journey is sort of Aang realizing that like it's not as simple as like, oh, we just have to stop the Fire Nation. It's also that like the world is kind of a fucked up place where the people in power are super selfish, and even in non-Fire Nation areas, like the people who are in charge are extremely selfish, and it's just a journey of Aang going from place to place, running into these extremely power-hungry people who, like, have obviously been using the war to their benefit and, like, just haven't given a shit this entire time.
I think you also get a sense of that, like, when they go to the Northern Water Tribe for the first time, too. Or, like, because, you know, they're not perfect at all, because they have, like, these rules where they're not going to teach Katara to fight because she's a woman.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And all that stuff. So like even the water tribes, which were like from the beginning are kind of introduced as like victims of this whole war. Even they're not like perfect and innocent. Like all of the cultures in Avatar are very nuanced and complicated, and they're not like, you know, presented in one way. There's like all this stuff going on constantly. And like, you know, we spend a lot of time in the Earth Kingdom because I think it has the most amount of land. And like everywhere they go, there's like every town they visit has like its own culture that's different from like every other place that they go. It's all very nuanced and interesting.
And if you remember from like the flashbacks of Roku and Sozin originally started moving into the Earth Kingdom and setting up colonies there. And I'm pretty sure the only reason why he had that full force genocide on the air nomads was because when Roku died, the Fire Nation Avatar died, they knew the next one was going to be born an air nomad, and the only air nomads were airbenders, right? You didn't see non-benders in the temples, the air nomad temples, right?
Yeah.
So they knew if they got rid of all of the airbenders, they'd get rid of the Avatar. And then who did they go after that? They started going after the Southern Water Tribes, taking out the Southern Waterbenders. And that
next in the cycle. Yeah.
That attack on the Northern Water Tribe, that was already planned and in motion before the gang was headed there.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to go back to the whole nuance of it's not just black and white kind of thing, because also we haven't talked about the swamp people at all, which makes me kind of sad. But they're just kind of there and chilling.
Yes.
They're kind of like forgotten, other than
it would have been really cool. A swamp Avatar that nobody realized was the Avatar because everybody just ignores the swamp people.
I agree. I want a swamp Avatar. Swamp Avatar when?
This brings me to a headcanon of mine where we have, for one cycle, an alternative Avatar who just masters the weird forms of bending, none of the main ones. So you're going to have like a swamp bender, metal bender. I don't know what the weird form of air is yet, but then a lightning bender. So he says, fuck fire, earth, water, air. Let's go for the funky shit. That'd be great.
That'd be so
A swamp.
That'd be great.
Oh
yeah,
my
he
god.
flies. So that's his airbending is the flight. Yeah, so he's just got this weird power set.
So just a flying swamp, fucking a flying swamp man with metal shit flying out of him and a goddamn tattoo on his head.
Cool though. Like you just have like Buddy over there with like this giant like armor basically of like swamp vines and stuff. Just basically do like almost do what they did in ATLA, but just like add in all of that crazy stuff. That'd be so interesting.
You could like they
Hey,
could like throw metal at people and then electrocute them.
Hey Nick, if Nickelodeon, if we see this shit in the next Avatar series, we want fucking royalties, okay?
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
copyright this, trademark, whatever I need to do.
We?
Just you owe us.
Pardon? Pardon? My headcanon, real OC, do not steal. Marie-Soleil.
If you steal anything exclusive to Tyler, you have to pay him the proper royalties too, Nick. Just FYI.
Or the Goo team will come for you.
Period. He can voice one of the characters or something. He just needs to be involved.
If someone's
Financial
plagiarized my
compensation
content
works
but then
too.
hired me as a voice actor, I would them.
But back on the topic of nuances
That's
and
our topic.
black,
Yes,
white, and gray,
I want
Jet and the Freedom Fighters.
I want to speak. Me.
Okay. All right. Fuck! I've got my hands up. Brooke, take over.
I'm sorry, I was just exploding when we were talking about the non-black and white thing. I was thinking, oh yeah, it's like the town that they went into in that one, the whole like Kyoshi trial thing, because of the whole they hate the Avatar and they burn the Avatar.
Yeah, the Avatar Day.
Yeah.
Like, he has to come in there and like convince the town, like, hey, listen, that guy was actually a conqueror and she was trying to save the town, and then she also made a prosperous island, and they're like, I guess we won't fry you. But also Jet and the Freedom Fighters, you know, they think they're doing thing, but they're actually not. They're doing like the bad means to an end deal, and I love that shit. And also just Jet's storyline alone, I was thinking about it while I was rewatching it, is like he could have been his own main character in the show. Like Jet and the Freedom Fighter, yeah.
Jet
in the forest,
is fucking insane.
taking out Fire Nation people, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. And then he's there for one episode, comes back in Ba Sing Se, only to try and like get Zuko caught, and then he comes back again and dies.
Fucking dies.
And on the fact that them not saying people died, they pretty much said he died. Like he said, "I'll be fine," and Toph was like, "He's lying."
He's lying.
And then at the Ember Islands,
in
the Ember Islands,
like, did you
Zuko's
say
like,
here?
"Did Jet just die?" And they're like, "It's not clear."
Yeah,
He's fucking dead. Isn't he dead? Isn't he confirmed dead in the comics or something?
Oh yeah,
he's like, he's
dead.
dead.
We don't need the confirmation. He's literally dead.
Oh yeah, no. I know he's
I'm just
literally
sad
dead.
because that means Smellerby and Longshot also died with him because they stayed in like Ladbai with him, and that makes me so upset because I really like both of them too.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, I don't think. I think they left. They just didn't leave with the gang.
Smellerby is in the comics. So Smellerby lives.
Like they stayed behind with Jet, but I think they were just making it so that he didn't die by himself. And they knew that
he stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no,
I also
Smellerby and
believe, like-
Longshot are alive canonically.
Katara and Aang wouldn't have
Go.
left Jet by himself.
Ouch.
And it was the only way they could get them to move on and to go do what they needed to do was for Smellerby and Longshot to stay behind.
Okay, fair. Then I kind of wish they showed up again because that made me really sad watching it the first time. I literally thought all three of them had died. I was like, wow, that's really fucking tragic.
Honestly, like,
God,
when you kind
we
of
see
like,
the Duke and Pipsqueak, right? Like, just have them come back right at the end. Right at the end. Just like in the background, I would have seen them.
When they were on the run.
Yeah, it would have been nice for them. Like, I don't remember I don't remember the finale, but like it would have been a nice callback for them to like show up when everyone was
literally
showing up.
Yes, in the big courtyard at the Fire Nation, they have like everyone back in the background again. Like you see like the Rock and the Boulder, not the Rock, the Boulder and Hippo and Pipsqueak and
you had Haru of all people showing up with the fucking mustache.
Everyone's in the background. Just seeing Longshot and Smellerby in the background would have made me very happy. They didn't even have to talk, just in the background.
Seeing them running up and hugging the Duke and Pipsqueak, like just in the background.
Yeah, that would have been so cute.
Oh man, that like I mean now looking back, that arc like with Jet and all of them and the Freedom Fighters, like that really was like just adding so much to the show. I think like you had amazing characters and like you had a really good like Brooke had said, like a really good main character arc with Jet, who we all started off kind of liking and then like really fucking hating, and then was like he's kind of something, and then he's just like, oh shit, he's gotten fucked up by Ba Sing Se again, or he's gotten captured by Ba Sing Se, brainwashed, and now it's like redeemed himself, but like never mentioned again. which is
It's also
sad.
the first time, I believe, that like outside of the Fire Nation, somebody tried to harm a child and ended up killing said child. And I know he's technically a teenager, but he's still a child. And the Daily killed him. The secret police force killed him.
They, like, fucking murdered him. Yeah, like I think that's the other thing. Like there's death. Like there's death in the show. Like there are characters who like are already dead, and there's like a Moon Lady. I've already forgotten. Yue, yeah, she dies.
Oh,
But it's like spiritually she dies, but then Jet is fucking it's like Obi-Wan. She just sort of evaporates. She's just but then Jet gets fucking
boulder
murked.
smashed.
Yeah, his death is like really shocking, honestly.
Like he doesn't get like evaporated to fairy dust and have like a little spiritual goodbye. He fucking dies.
Yeah.
Toph, who's only like 12 years old, can know that he's lying when he says he's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Bringing up Yue, you guys seen like the theories that she was supposed to be the next Avatar in the cycle?
Yes.
What?
What do you think about that
So
one?
the reason why she was born still is that she didn't have a soul because it was supposed to be the
Spirit,
Avatar.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
that's a good one. I like that.
That's really interesting.
Which is interesting because she wasn't even a bender.
So wait, if you're supposed to be an Avatar but you don't end up being an Avatar, you don't have a soul. That's
Well, we're not
soul
sure.
is
That is
she was
I mean,
born,
yeah.
she was sleeping, right?
This is fan theory stuff, but
Yeah.
damn,
And
that's
but,
dark.
like, they mentioned that in the show that she was born like she was sleeping and she wouldn't cry and they couldn't heal her and the healer said that she was going to die, so they put her in the special pool and the moon spirit went, okay, I'll give you some of mine. Some little juicy juice. Go
Yeah,
get
that
my
makes sense.
expect this
That's
juicy
summary.
juice back.
That summary is fan-fucking-tastic.
I just need a
Brooke,
little
I need you
juice.
to narrate. I need you to narrate like 6 stories that I don't want to read in your own way, because that's fantastic. I'd love to hear some.
I would pay serious money for that.
I just need a little squirt of juice.
Anyway. It's not Spark Notes, it's Brooke's Notes.
Dude, let's
Brooke
fucking do it. We have a
Notes.
series where we can do whatever we want.
Brooke Notes.
Yeah,
Brooke Notes.
That's what we're doing anyway. We do what we
That's-
want anyway.
Yeah.
Books.
I have another topic, however.
Okay,
Because
let's hear it.
are we
I'm
done with this
ready.
topic?
Sure.
We
Let's go.
do you want to be? We're done this topic.
Just move it. Do it.
Just go.
Move it,
Do it.
do it,
Let's hear it.
pump it, twist it, bop it. So we've spoken a lot about what we like about the show, and I would
Yes.
like to bring up things that we didn't like. And I know we just mentioned the fact that several side characters sort of just didn't make an appearance and were forgotten about, and I found that happens quite a bit through the show. Not the most major complaint of mine, and my personal pet peeve happens only twice that I know about. I'm halfway through season 4 of Korra. The 2 big spirit fights at the end of season 1 of The Last Airbender, I believe, with Aang becoming fused with the moon spirit and fucking up that fleet, ocean spirit, and fucking up the fleet. And then at the end of season 2 of Korra, when she becomes, massive and fights off the bad, evil, dark spirit, embodiment of evil, Unalaq. I dislike both of those fights so massively because it is a bad example of power creep that is just meant for spectacle. There was no necessary skill involved. We didn't get to see her really use any of the bending she'd learned or anything like that. She just tapped into a nuclear engine and went, all right, we're good to go. And the same with Aang. I really don't think it showed character development or skill. This is just, we need a season ender. Let's make it a big monster fight. And I really felt those were out of place. And I'm glad it only happens that little bit in the show because it could have become pervasive. So that is my personal peeve about the whole show, is those 2 big fights.
I think my one peeve isn't exactly with the show, but it's with the communities kind of wanting Azula to have a redemption arc in future seasons. And to be honest, I'm of the camp that she doesn't need one. Like, I think Azula's arc as this like broken character who in her own way is still very evil, but like for almost similar reasons as Zuko, but kind of the opposite, where Zuko had a lot of expectation on him, and same thing with Azula, and like just all of that now falling on Azula's shoulders because Zuko is disgraced. Like that is, I think, a wonderful character arc in and of itself, and like the downfall of Azula's character eventually going crazy was, I think, a really good way to essentially write her character off the show, and to try to redeem that. I think it'd be hard because everyone is looking at Zuko's redemption arc and is thinking, holy shit, like this has been like thing. Like if they can do it with Zuko, they can do it with Azula or something along that line. But the thing is, Zuko has had like moral complications, and I think a lot of like a lot of like moral questioning since season 1. Azula was introduced more or less just as like the almost opposite of Zuko, and in that she was very power hungry and very like assertive. And I think if they were definitely trying to go for a Zuko style redemption arc, it wouldn't work. But even then, the community pitching an Azula redemption arc to me personally is a pet peeve, because just she doesn't need one. Like Zuko's was impactful for a reason, but I think Azula trying to like have a redemption arc for one thing would be hard, and secondly, just I don't think it's necessary.
I think she gets at least some part of redemption in the comics. I haven't actually read them, but I've seen images of her and Zuko going on a trip and finding their mom. So I think she does get some sort of a redemptionist, and she needed therapy. That's my idea. Like at the end of it, like she needs therapy.
Pretty much.
Not so much redemption arc, but like therapy.
Yeah, just a nice close to her arc maybe is therapy. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I think the other thing about Azula and Azula getting a redemption arc to me is like, I mean, this is sort of like the consideration of what you were saying with like how she was introduced and how versus how Zuko was introduced, but it's like with Zuko, it almost doesn't even feel like a redemption arc. You know what I mean? In like sort of the way that redemption arcs are kind of understood, like in fiction, because like most of the time, if you have like a redemption arc, it's like okay, this character it's sort of like a Loki situation where it's like okay, bad guy, and then later on it's like okay, bad guy, and then like eventually they'll have their redemption arc and they'll become more heroic.
Mm-hmm.
But with Zuko, you're introduced to him, and then like by the end of episode 1, it's already established that like he has like a beef with the Fire Nation, and he has some issues with the Fire Nation, and you're like from the beginning of like when he's introduced, you're already kind of rooting for him to have a redemption arc. It's not like he's like a villain who's introduced who later becomes good by learning that good is good. He's already kind of good. He's just in a bad situation, and that's like really clear from like
he also doesn't know a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, that's why I always have an issue with people calling Zuko's arc a redemption arc, because I don't think it is. Yeah,
because he doesn't become good. Like he's like he sort of like becomes, he doesn't really become anything. What happens is that his situation changes, then he stops like seeing his father and like pursuing the love of his father as like the way to attain like what he feels is a fulfillment. He's a
perspective change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he's an abused child who comes to understand that basically.
And it's not like a traditional redemption arc where you have like, I mean, maybe cliche is more the word that I'm thinking of there, but it's more it's like, because where a lot of redemption arcs, you'll have like the scene where like the hero character and the villain character, they'll have like their heart to heart, or maybe the villain character will see like an act of like particular horror from someone else on their side, and they'll like have a change of heart. Like there's no real change of heart with Zuko because he doesn't like he doesn't like, there are bits where he has like hearts to hearts, like with Aang and with Katara, and like where he talks
scene, the beach episode,
the whole beach. Well, that I was going to get to that, because like with most villain redemption arcs and stuff, it's usually like another character will influence them to become good. But with Zuko, what more happens is that he gains knowledge and he learns things about the world, and he has experiences. And then the beach episode comes, and the beach episode is and the episode where like he learns about, it's him learning about stuff, and just his sort of heart to heart isn't with any character, it's sort of with himself. He just has this introspective moment where he sort of like, not even moment, he just becomes more introspective, and he starts like thinking inwards and like realizes to himself, without someone else telling him, what he thinks the right thing is to do, and the right thing is to go against his father. Like it's not like he had like an epiphany, or like someone was like, your father is bad, and he's like, gosh, you're right. Like he always kind of knew that, but he needed to have like exactly, he needed to have a perspective change. He needed to like have like that sort of, he needed to realize that for himself. And I think that was a lot more interesting than what would have probably happened with an Azula redemption arc, where she would have, because like, I mean, it's not that I don't like Azula as a character. I think Azula is a great character, but I think as far as a redemption arc would go, it would be very a lot more cliched, because it would probably be like a lot more like,
basically,
you would more than likely either have Azula would become less insane through therapy, and by virtue of that, she would be like, maybe these Avatar people aren't so bad, or maybe she would have like a heart to heart with one good guy character.
I don't know. Again. Do it again.
I can't think. What's the pink elephant line? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But like, I think, it would definitely be a lot more like what we're familiar with like a redemption arc. And I think it would have, I don't think it would have been totally consistent with like what her story had been up to that point.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Any other, I guess going back, like any other pet peeves?
Oh yes, me.
Okay.
I starting with something that I liked, transitioning into the dislike is, you know how it's a big thing in the start of Korra, like the first season is the whole equalist movement and benders and non-benders. In ATLA, I actually really liked that they never really brought up like a power disadvantage between them. Like we see Sokka holding his own from like right from the beginning, and even though it takes him a while to get his own master and get his own sword, he's still a valuable part of the team and like the strategist. And then when we see Azula, she does the same thing, and she surrounds herself with two non-benders as her elite team. Like they're never looked down upon as less than, and she finds them just as capable as any other people in her life, even though neither Tyler or May can bend. But because I love them so much, I have such a pet peeve that they got shoved out of the action at the end. Like we see them switch sides, not for the gang. It's just May choosing Zuko and Tyler choosing May. And then they get thrown in jail, and we get to see them at the end, and it makes me very sad that they didn't get to be part of the final battle more in some way. Because I really like them, and I really like that quick shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also but I do like how it's when they turn against Azula, that's the start of when her control starts to fall apart, though.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that they show that their relationship to her, that her control, she thought she had total control over these two, and when they said, no, you don't, we care about each other more than we're afraid of you, basically, and we care about Zuko, but that's when everything started falling apart for her.
Yeah.
For Azula.
what an iconic line to not capitalize on, by the way. I think if I'm misremembering events in the show, then correct me, but like I 100% agree, because riding off of the momentum of like Tylee and May leaving Azula, they focus a lot on like how Azula deals with it, which I think I wouldn't really change that, but God, I would have loved to have seen them capitalize on just how like Tylee and May kind of go from there, because yeah, I again, if I'm misremembering, like I might be misremembering, but like as soon as they do that, they separate, and then you kind of time skip a few episodes, and basically May winds up with Zuko, and Tylee becomes a Kyoshi warrior. What is the in between there?
I mean,
like
they're literally just in jail. That's it.
yeah,
And then they get taken out of jail at the end.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's why they come
May
back.
writes love letters to Zuko from jail, and Tylee starts polycule in prison. So
That's the reason she joins the Kyoshi Warriors, is because she got sent to prison with the Kyoshi Warriors, and they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
just chi blocking," and she goes, "Okay," and they go join the group, and she goes,
guess, yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah, I guess, yeah,
I
it would
love
have been a
Tylee.
relatively short sequence, but like, oh man, just
I mean, I think I do know what you mean. Like, had that not been like what was canonically the case, it would have been cool to see them in the finale, and they just didn't appear at all. But and then like it gave an explanation for why they didn't appear. But like I understand what you're saying. Like it would have been cool if that wasn't the explanation, and if they had been there.
yeah, like if they weren't written to be in jail and they had their own different arcs to kind of expand, like
I didn't want them like full center, because like I love 4 battle splits for like climactic endings, and Avatar does that. It has the 4 battles going on. So throwing May and Tylee in there might have messed up something if you tried to focus on them at all. I just didn't want them completely disregarded until like the last second.
I agree.
Well, like
it's such a powerful duo.
every character came. It felt like every character came back in like the final 4 episodes. They had like, it was sort of like it really felt like everything had been building up to this, and they kept having all these throwback characters. Like June the bounty hunter showed up. The firebender who was teaching Aang in the first season, whose name I don't remember, but it's John. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was about to say I think it sounds like a JoJo thing. They both showed up, and Boomy showed up. Yeah, and like they had like
Also, that was fucking great, because that's when we finally get to see Iroh again. Like Zuko's journey had been taken alone. That's like part of like back to what you're saying. He could have been influenced by Iroh multiple times, but he constantly pushed his uncle away. And it's only when he's already come to terms with himself and the group, and he's already become an integrated part of the group, is when he finally meets up with Iroh again and apologizes to Iroh and mends his bond with Iroh, which is just so good.
It's the most emotional.
It makes me cry just thinking about
it.
It makes me cry. I cried again.
So much.
So,
just watching you cry.
I looked up the speech that Zuko gives to Ozai, and it kind of encapsulates everything we were saying about Zuko's arc. And it's like how I've learned everything, and I've learned it on my own. Like, it's a really long speech. I'm not going to read it out right now because it's getting kind of late, but it's in that one speech that he has to his father, and how he says like he learned it on his own, how like growing up they were taught Fire Nation's awesome, this war is how we can like spread it to everybody, and how that's a lie, and how they're hurting people. But he had to see on his own.
Yeah, that's it, Zuko. Be that active protagonist. Appreciate you for it, buddy.
And I'm sorry, it's not where we were right now, but it's just the fact that we were tied into Zuko just now. Yeah.
Like, to quickly go back to Tylee and May for just a second to kind of wrap up my point on it. Just, I love those two so much. Like the fact that they weren't benders, like it kind of made me. It's kind of why I loved Sokka so much. It's just that how are they going to compete in a world where you can literally control the elements, and they were super capable of it. So like, while I understand the fact that like, you know, it made sense for them to be written into jail, I just would have loved a little bit more. Like in the final sequence, just you can have them take down a few people. Totally fine with me. Works 100% fine with me.
Just them breaking out of jail and
jailbreak sequence during the finale.
Like they get broken out of jail because like everyone knows that like, oh shit, you could even use them for plot convenience too, because like the appearance of like Tylee and May might weaken Azula's morale a little bit. just going into the fight, and it might make her a little more crazy, but still kind of like proceed as normal with the whole duel against her brother. I forgot what the duel is called.
Agni Kai.
The Agni
Agni
Kai.
Kai. Yeah, the Agni
Come on,
Kai.
dude.
Can we talk about the Agni Kai actually?
Which
Like-
Oh
one?
shit. We want
Just-
to.
Many. There
Let's
are
talk
many.
about let's talk about, I think for me, the two that stick out in my mind, and that is the one in season 1 and the one in season 3. Just that first Agni Kai that gave Zuko his scar, and the final Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula.
Oh, the one
The
between
one
him
with
and
his father
dad.
and the one with his sister.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just
I thought you were talking about like the very first one with him and General Fuckface, whose name
No, I don't.
His
I
name is
don't-
not important.
Yeah, I don't care about
That's
His
that
name
his
is
one.
not important
Shao.
either. It's like
Yeah,
he
General
dies
Shao,
too.
yeah.
I forgot about that. He fucking
Yeah.
dies.
Okay, technically, Aang didn't kill him though. That was the ocean spirit.
Yeah, no. He charged
Technically-
to death,
Aang
though.
didn't do it.
Technically, he was brought. He wasn't actually like killed. He's trapped in a prison in the spirit world. We meet him in Legend of Korra at one point.
I
That's
think
correct.
trapped. I think
forgot about
trapped in
that.
a spirit. I mean, in a
That's basically
sense,
death.
death could be described.
Still death.
Death could be described as being trapped in a prison in the spirit world.
You must
You're
have
not
lived a
wrong.
pretty shitty life if after you die you're trapped in a jail in spirit
Wait,
world.
okay, hang on. Wait, let me do this more metaphysical. But like, if your situation could be described as stuck permanently in an otherworldly afterlife, what else would that be
Okay,
called?
tangent aside. Let's get back to the Agni Kai. Just yeah. So disregarding the Agni Kai that Zuko had with Zhao, which I really didn't give a shit about. Just that first one, or that one with Ozai, was obviously the one that, like,
Oh yeah.
you know, it was very, like, it gave Zuko his scar, right? Like that
He was
just the bonding
13.
seal. Yeah. We shouldn't forget that. Just he was 13. Like that would fuck up a kid, and it has.
Yeah, it
And, like-
did. That's
No,
like
really.
the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, way to fucking introduce a villain too. Like,
Yeah.
like they had spent the whole season up to that point, like building up, like, oh, we're the Fire Nation and we're led by Fire Lord Ozai. Who the fuck is Fire Lord Ozai? We're not going to show you until this one scene where he burns his son's face off.
When his son is like kneeling on the ground, begging for mercy, refusing to fight him, he raises his hand and burns his fucking face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the best examples of, like, because I think this happens a lot where like a villain will get like hyped up and then like they don't quite live up to it. But Ozai fucking lives up to it.
He's a real
Yeah.
piece of shit.
He's a real
Oh, yeah.
fucking bad
Real
guy.
piece of shit.
And like what I think I love about him, this might be a bit of a tangent, but like I love that Ozai is like just a bad guy. Like it's the exact opposite of
Yeah.
everything I was saying earlier about like how this show's strengths are, like, I think in like the gray areas and like how subtle some of this shit is, not black and white is. And then you get to Ozai, who is like the most black and white you could possibly be. Like he's like
Yeah.
just the most evil you can write a character.
It's awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like his end game plan is not even like he doesn't want to take. He just wants to set everything on fire. Like
Yeah.
he's so well
The men
characterized.
just
It's
want
just
to watch
like
the world burn.
it's just an absolute madman, evil villain, and like yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. Tangent over.
Tangent over. All right. So yeah, I think back to going to the season 3 Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula. I think that hands down is probably my favorite animated fight scene ever. That's arguable, but I think just the level of emotion that they had throughout that entire thing, and just how in between these two characters, like going into the fight, like there have been how many video essays of just how great this Agni Kai is, but like, you know, and me restating the points is just kind of, you know, reiterating, but just like what, like the music, the animation, the like expressions on Zuko and Azula, where these characters are at that time and place, like the advantages that they both have, the disadvantages, just people have talked about this scene so much throughout the years, and like again, I don't want to like repeat most of them because there are a lot of good video essays out there specifically focusing on that. But yeah, what do you guys think on like the Agni Kai between like the, you know, Zuko's Agni Kai between his father and his sister.
Oh, I think it's fucking great. Azula is just batshit crazy by that time, and the way that they animate her moving and cackling is just downright terrifying, and I love it. And it's just very smart and beautiful. Also, like the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like I definitely agree. Like the way that she's animated throughout that whole sequence is like like she's just lost her fucking mind.
She's off the deep end, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder which one of them would have won in a fair fight if, like, they were on the same ground. If Azula hadn't just gone batshit crazy, if they were both of sane mind and body in that fight, who would have won?
I think I feel like I'm saying this because I just watched the fight scene right before we started this. I think that I disagree. I think it was leaning towards Zuko. I think had Azula gone for the lightning shot against just him and had Katara not been there, I think Zuko would have clutched that shit.
Like, Azula lost the moment she attacked somebody that wasn't in the fight. Like, an Agni Kai is supposed to be a battle of honor. You're not supposed to attack a bystander.
Yeah.
And she knew she was losing, and that's why she reached out. She attacked at Katara, knowing Zuko was going to try to save her, and then Zuko would have died in theory.
Yeah.
And she would have been the last. She would have won by default, right?
Yeah.
But if she hadn't been unstable at the beginning of the fight, though.
If Azula had been like mentally stable, I didn't catch that part of this. If Azula had been mentally stable, I think she would have won.
Yeah,
she would have won.
Like, even if you could still have Zuko who trained to learn how to redirect lightning. I think Azula would still win.
I think Zuko, because he had the whole journey going to the original firebenders and the sun warriors and learning from the dragon, so I think he has an advantage now because he isn't fueled by rage.
That's
possible.
True,
I mean,
yeah,
and it's a kid's show, so they would totally do that.
Right before that, like Katara, I think him and Katara have a conversation about how like he has an advantage because she's unhinged. I think they would have been like, I'm trying to think about it because like if they had been on totally equal grounds, like I'm trying to think.
I think so. While Gabe thinks, I think my answer is changing actually because by that point, like Zuko was not just firebending out of anger; he was firebending like out of I think acceptance. I think like he'd finally like come to terms with a lot in his past and his present, and not only that, he had learned how to like use different kinds of bending, like bending forms to firebend, which ultimately gives him more of an advantage, I think. Like, because Azula firebends like a firebender, but Zuko was firebending using different, like using water bending techniques, earth bending techniques, air bending techniques. Like that places him at a much greater advantage, I think, because that's ultimately when Iroh was like, when Iroh was a general, he knew of that, I think. Or I don't know if he did know of that, but like ultimately as a wiser character, he knew a lot more.
They kind of imply that's why Iroh is a stronger firebender, is because he takes from all the nations anyway.
That is true, yeah.
Is that implied? He like outright states it at multiple points.
I was gonna say we were talking about lightning bending, but isn't lightning bending like he invented it after like learning about like water bending and like studying from
and
underwater bending masters.
That scene when he's trying to when he's trying to talk to Zuko about like the lightning redirection, that's one of the things he does is he draws out like the symbols of the four nations and talks about how like they're all interconnected and all that stuff. Like it's outright stated that the reason he's a good firebender is because he understands that the world is balanced and like all the elements aren't separate but are like part of a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think probably Zuko might win.
Also, it'd be really cool if we got the fight and it looked like he was equal footing, and then eventually Azula took the lead. But then there's a calm moment where Zuko remembers the Sun Warriors, and he kind of does a version of the dancing dragon.
Oh, the dragon
and we
dance?
see like
Yeah.
a dragon silhouette within his fire, and that's what knocks her out. That would be cool too.
That'd have been fucking wild.
See, now
Oof.
instead of Brooke just like explaining like random movies with no context, I want her to just rewrite iconic scenes. I want to see what she thinks about that, because that's cool.
I just think that's a logical solution if she wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I first watched that whole Agni Kai sequence, when Katara does the water thing with the grates, I was expecting Azula to fucking die by electroshock. That was like,
Oh my god!
Yeah. That's a good point.
I was like, holy shit, is this fucking finale of Avatar going to go in a much darker direction than I was expecting? Like, I was expecting some like fucking.
That would be fucking phenomenal.
I was expecting basically what I was expecting was like she was gonna pull the water out and there was gonna be like sort of a cutaway where we just see like electricity happening and then the guitar is going to save Zuko.
Oh
I mean, that'd be so funny in contrast to like Aang choosing not to kill Jose.
Aang chooses not to kill Guitar fucking murders.
It's like, don't worry, babe. I got you. Whoever you need killed, I got it.
I got it.
I got it. You ain't got to dirty your hands. I'll dirty my hand.
I mean, I could definitely see Katara killing a motherfucker before.
Well, I mean, they did the whole plot line where she didn't kill a motherfucker who also killed her mother.
Yeah. Oh my
That's
god.
true. That is true. She came very close though.
She came very fucking close, but she didn't do it.
She didn't do it.
The first time, like, well, like the first time, like, when Katara like bloodbended that one Fire Nation guard, I was genuinely intimidated because they had the whole angle on her eyes and everything. Just the way that she did it so
And then Zuko's
slowly and menacingly too. Just like the fear in her eyes was so consistent, and I was like legitimately terrified.
I love bloodbending. Greatest scene work, in my opinion. Just to make it extra creepy. Ugh, love the bloodbending.
I love
the Hama episode is one of the best ones. I
love when like
Not
Hama
like,
starts doing
really up there, but,
bloodbending and
it's
like
so good.
her
Hama's
veins are like
also,
fucking pulsing.
Hama's
Yeah.
also a good look at the whole black and white and gray kind of outlook.
Yeah.
Yes. Back to that.
That's the first time we see like someone from the Southern Water tribe that's like not depicted.
Actually evil.
Well, yeah, like she's a horrible person.
Yeah.
But also like
she's-
not born evil though. Like definitely like a result of like
yeah, like you
of
understand why
circumstances.
she is the way
Yeah.
she is, but it's very interesting, especially because like she's introduced as like, you know, this someone for Katara to look up to, and then this realization that she's actually kind of the worst.
Yeah.
The show does that a lot too, like where it's also like really mature for a sort of like a kids show where it's like where you have characters who are like Hama, where it's a character who's like really fucked up and evil, but their circumstances and like how they got to this place are like very like you watch it, and even as a kid you're like, I could see myself being in that position if I had that life experience, but this character still gotta fucking go down. Like cool murder is still murder.
Yeah.
This really
That's also-
drives.
Sorry.
Well, you're saying Hama's the worst and she's evil and she's all fucked up. I see her in a lot more gray of a light personally. These are fucking colonizers that took her land. It doesn't matter if it's a citizen to some extent. They're complicit in their nation's crimes.
They're civilians in a. I mean, okay. Here's the thing. Had it been soldiers, I would have had more like that's a gray area. But like, okay. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about like how complicit the Fire Nation is, and how how certain Fire Nation civilians are definitely kind of cool with it. But I think there's also something to speak of like.
But it's
unawareness and like propaganda and brainwashing.
Super realistic.
Yeah.
People are like that happens all the time.
Like the first episode in season 3 is Aang going to a Fire Nation school and like seeing like that. Like this is what the Fire Nations have been educated for like the last 100 years like they have like a super strict education system. They're like, this is basically brainwashing. So I don't know. I don't feel like it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like, it's obviously not Earth Kingdom levels of brainwashing, but
you're
like
wrong. I'm just saying I have way more shades of gray for Hama than it seems the evil and twisted that she has been described as.
Maybe not evil. Okay, maybe evil's going overboard, but definitely like
she was
taking
broken.
her
She's not dumping people in a mountain. They don't even explain why exactly she's doing that, other than probably just like she likes the power of it.
Yeah,
she's just leaving people in a mountain.
Yeah,
maybe she was
like
that is pretty bad.
Yeah, that just still reaffirmed the fact that like, hey, like you may have sympathetic qualities, but you should not be rooting for this character.
Yeah,
that's what was done to her, though. They took her to her land. They locked her up in a cell.
I just had a horrible thought. So she used the rats as like when she was in the prison. She used the rats to like. She used the rats and like the people to help her get out. What if she was gathering an army? I'm just gonna put that one.
Was she not? I thought that she was.
Of people,
it'd be way too hard to
in the
control
village.
People, though.
No, I know. Yeah. But I'm just like, what if there was some shit going on with that? Well, that's why she needed Katara.
She's not
start gathering waterbenders.
Her control of them is very basic. When she's got Aang and Sokka under her control, she can't really she can barely manage to get him to swing his sword. And it's more of like puppet swinging kind of thing.
Yeah,
but that's why she needed like a more powerful waterbender with her.
Oh,
yeah.
I also fucking love that they call that episode "The Puppeteer," and the only hint that we get beforehand is that they find those puppets in the wall when they're investigating the inn, and then you find out what she's doing, and you're like, "Oh shit, it's deeper than that."
Fucking puppeteer.
I think The Puppeteer is probably like among my top 5 favorite episodes of ATLA. Like I think.
Oh yeah, that's a great episode.
Like the one-off episodes that they were doing for like the one-off episodes, like that one episode where it was a series of short stories in Ba Sing Se. That I think
filler
probably,
episodes.
Yeah, that was that's
There's only 3 of
there.
those.
I think the ending, like the 2-part ending finale, definitely the beach episode. There's so many good episodes in that
2-part ending finale.
4-part.
Yeah, it was 2-part.
You know, it's starting to get late when.
Yeah. All right. So I think to acknowledge the fact that it is getting a bit late. Let's close off on I think one final, discussion, which we really should have done earlier because I know this is going to be very hard to talk about. But favorite characters.
I knew it.
Yeah, I think I'll start. For me, I'll start because it's really easy. I've done this before and I'll do it again. Toph is my favorite character, bar none. And that's it. I've elaborated on how Toph is amazing in previous, and I think in the favorite characters episode that we did in season 1. So I literally do not need to expand on it. Toph is my favorite.
Oh wait, I know who my favorite character is. I don't have to think about this.
Oh.
Then go.
It's fucking Iroh, of course.
Yeah, fair.
Fucking best boy.
We did not talk about Iroh enough.
I know.
Gabe
It's just
Gabe
wow.
can.
Pop off on Iroh. Let's go. Let's get some Iroh love.
Iroh is just like he's just a fucking amazing character. I love it's again with the Zuko thing, like from the first goddamn episode that he's introduced, it's already establishing this idea that like, yeah, the Fire Nation is bad, but like this isn't Stormtrooper land. This is not like this is not going to be a story where everything's going to be that cut and dry. Because from the first episode, you got Iroh, and Iroh is like he's immediately lovable. He just wants to fucking play. He wants to play his game, and he wants to talk about roasted duck and big tea. He's such a king. And then like as the series goes on, he just keeps on fucking winning. This dude never fucking misses. This dude never misses a beat once in the entire series. I love him so much. He just goes through the whole thing being an utter god throughout it. He did the dragon shit before the series even started. Like he invented lightning bending. He has that whole episode with the.
He didn't. I don't believe he invented lightning bending. That was already a thing. He had created lightning redirection.
Yeah.
Did he? Was it fire breathing that he invented? I know he invented
fire
something.
breathing.
No, I think that's the Dragon of the West thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because lightning redirection was the whole reshifting of energy that waterbenders do.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So he didn't invent waterbending, but
No, he did not invent waterbending.
He definitely
he didn't invent lightning
waterbender.
He
I think he did the lightning redirection though.
He invented lightning redirection, and he fucking breathes fire
breath,
which was also insane. I don't know. I love how every time that he's on screen, he's just saying shit, and it's just good, and you can just put that shit on your fucking. You just have that shit just in your head and be like, yeah, I'm gonna live by that shit. Just whatever fucking line it is.
You could have one of those quotes on a thing on a wooden board at some local cafe, and people would be like, "Oh, that's so inspirational."
There's one where he's I also love his interactions with the hero squad. That's probably my favorite part about him. How not just the audience, but the whole Avatar gang just understands that Iroh is just a chill guy, and they just keep hanging out with him and meeting up with him and be like, oh hey, it's Iroh. We're okay. It's just Iroh. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Fire Nation General. He's pretty fun.
Yeah, and Toph. That episode where Toph runs into him is great. That episode where they run into each other again and they're like, "Oh, you know Iroh? Fucking sick."
Yeah.
Iroh's amazing, and it sucks that his voice actor passed away before the series was finished. I love the whole Tales of Bossing say they did. That was also the farewell to that voice actor.
Oh god, yeah. I think
that episode is set on multiple levels.
Yeah, that makes me weird too.
They had been talking about that for so long. That's one of the things that was everywhere when Avatar was blowing up again. Just everyone got emotional for that, and for good reason too. Because that was one of the few things that had spoiled for me. For Avatar, I was basically I knew that there was going to be one episode with Iroh that was going to make me cry, and so I was watching Avatar, and I was like, okay, I know this episode is coming up soon, and then the episode came, and I still fucking cried. Yeah,
because that shit is really fucking hard.
Yeah, it's not just an homage to the voice actor, but just the reasoning behind why Iroh's losing his son, right? Had he not lost his son, he probably would be a completely different man. I think, but just
I love
that kind of gravity. It's just it changed him.
I love how that whole episode too, that whole story is basically Iroh going around bossing Say and helping various people through the various stages of a young man's life in a sort of metaphorical way. And then he goes to his fucking son's grave, and it's horrific. It's goddamn devastating.
Yeah.
That's Iroh. I love Iroh. Iroh is everything that I aspire to be as a person.
Except maybe minus the war crimes.
Yeah, maybe. No.
I mean,
no.
It's
for a fact that's something I want to do.
Look, listen to any potential government members who might be listening to this. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I promise. I promise for legal purposes, for all accounts, it is a joke.
He's lying.
It's a joke.
Sure.
It's 100% a joke. Same thing. The same joke is how Marie-Soleil is going to kill Gabe through guillotine. That's also a joke.
No, it is 100% a joke.
It is completely a joke.
I have no intention of committing war crimes in Belarusian airspace.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Gabe, stop. You're gonna get us all in trouble.
Anyways.
I don't have weapons of mass destruction. Wink,
that's
wink,
also
wink.
a joke.
What do you mean that's a joke?
I
That means
I don't.
They do.
I don't have napalm in my shed. Winky blinky.
Oh my god. Oh my
Okay.
god.
All right. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
enemies of the state,
Anyways.
I've mastered napalm.
Alex,
Anyway.
favorite character, go.
Well,
Fucking hell.
potentially, predictably, my favorite character was always Zuko. I just thought he was a well-written character. He's super interesting and complicated from the first time you meet him all the way through, and I love his character arc. But also shout out to Suki and Tyler as well, because they're definitely my favorite side characters.
Suki will forever be Sokka's bae, and I will not take any other couple, or will not take any
Tyler-
other acceptance. Or
Tyler's definitely a close second for me.
Suki and Sokka are the only couple that I definitely love in Avatar.
Suki and Sokka are the
Yue.
ones.
I do love Yue as well, but it wasn't meant to be.
They fell in love in like what 2 days. I can't take
Also,
that.
it was very icy hot because like she was constantly like, I can't do this. Hey, do you want to meet up? I can't do this again. Hey, do you want to meet up? I'm engaged. I still love you though.
Exactly. At least with Suki and Sokka, they had a nice back and forth. Like Sokka learned not to be like
He
not
wore
to
a
be-
dress for her.
Yeah, just
Yes,
learned
Sokka
not
got
to be like
freaking-
misogynist again. So like perfect.
Notes, let's go. Brooke notes, do it again. I love that. Go hard.
Yeah.
Suki made Sokka drink respect woman juice, and he started chugging that shit for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, Brooke, favorite character, go.
Probably also Zuko. I also really love seeing the blue spirit. Anytime the blue spirit showed up, I was happy.
True, yeah.
Brooke and I just
But I
have the
think-
same taste in characters, apparently.
Yeah, like Zuko just works so well because you know how like people say like he's like the yin and yang, Aang and Zuko, and I also just love his conflict with Katara and their resolution. I feel like he could be very goofy, but also strategical vibes with Sokka, and of course the balance between his feistiness and Iroh's wisdom is always beautiful. But also, I just really love the blue spirit.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to like season 3 because that's where Zuko really was Zuko. I think.
Oh
Like, he
god,
had-
the gang! I love when the gang is complete with Zuko. When he finally joins,
Yes.
like
Yeah,
this is just this is mwah.
and that was like
Mwah.
like halfway through season 3 too.
Halfway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure was.
Like they didn't rush it. They really took their time uniting everybody, and when they did,
And it
Perfect.
makes sense. His arc makes sense. Like he has you think he's getting better, and then he kind of like falls back into. Yeah, it's so good. Good writing.
yeah.
Yes.
It's so fucking tragic watching him like fall back to the Fire Nation after you think it's like
Yeah.
it's almost there.
That
And
that
the- like,
scene
yeah.
hurts. Where like, yeah,
Can you
And
imagine?
It's also like-
under Crossing Say, and he throws a first fireball that's right in between Azula and Aang, and everyone stands in tension, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat waiting, and then he shifts and fires the next one at Aang, and you're like, no!
boy,
It's
what are you
heartbreaking.
doing?
Honestly,
that?
yeah, honestly, I was pissed because like it had been so long since I had seen Avatar, so I completely forgot about how that went. So I was like, oh, he's gonna redeem himself here in season 2 and spend the rest of season 3 with the gang, and then suddenly, no, fuck that.
It's like
Just
it happens
back in
like
the Fire
right
Nation.
after his like talk with Katara too, where they like bond over
See-
their mothers and stuff. Like
I was thinking about this too. Can you imagine the obnoxiousness from Zutara shippers if Katara was the reason why Zuko thing like had that influence?
Oh,
Because it would have completely eliminated the fact that like, oh, here is everything that had to do with my own internal conflict as Zuko, and like realize all of this shit by myself. But no, fucking Katara did all of that for me after we had an exchange about our
that
fucking
would've-
parents.
that would have been bad writing.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was sort of getting earlier. It's like right after a heart to heart, it would have been like just the standard redemption arc stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
As
had to go back and like realize things weren't as good as he remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And come to that conclusion all on his own.
Like it's infuriatingly frustrating when it happens, but like it's definitely like
it was worth
it's
it,
the right.
It's good writing. It was the right choice for the story.
That's the sign of like a well-written show when like something that infuriating happens, but you're like, that was the right move narratively, unquestionably. If they had done anything else, it would have been bad.
Yeah, they had to make that sacrifice to give us the beach scene,
and like
it was everything,
and everything afterwards. Just
but like it's a sign of good writing that all of us are like when you get to that moment you're frustrated because you want Zuko to be better, because that's like he's a good character and you're really rooting for him even then, and then he makes that decision and you're just like no, but you also know that like eventually he's gonna come and make the right decision.
Yeah,
like even in the moment, like I was still like part of me was still like, I know like this is how it's got to happen. There's no way that it can just be like as easy as a character will talk to him and be like, your dad is evil, and he'll be like, oh gosh, I never thought about it that way.
And bonding over lost mothers.
Yeah.
That's
like, it would have been hella lazy writing if they had just been
a simple heart-to-heart is all it takes to mend like 16 years of abuse and trauma. Nope, that's not how that works.
And the fight with just Martha. How do you know that name?
Oh God!
Oh God! Yeah!
Oh my God!
Why did you say that name?
All right, Marie-Soleil, favorite character.
Good writing.
Yeah, good writing.
Not Martha. That wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Not the Martha.
That was good writing. What are you talking about? That was great. We can't get into this
again. We can build rule of thumb. If Alex blatantly hates it and Gabe is openly lying, it's not good.
I'm just a contrarian.
We know.
Yeah. All right, Marie-Soleil, favorite character.
Gran.
Aww.
Like, okay, look at her story though. Like, she leaves the Northern Water tribe because she's not cool with their old-fashioned values and everything. Doesn't want to get married to that. Doesn't want to have to raise her family in that. Moves literally across the earth to the Southern Water tribe. During a war.
She's not 100.
Yeah, she's not 100. This is in the 100-Year War. Raises a family. Son, what has her daughter-in-law is murdered by the Fire Nation. Her son goes off to war. She's raises her grandchildren. They come back from a hunting trip with this bald little monk dude from a nation. The air nomads are wiped out. She has to know who this kid is. Like, there's no other way this kid is still alive. Like, if he's not the Avatar.
I have the best idea for an InkGuild Presents video that I'll pitch after this episode. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
I know what it is.
And then the Fire Nation shows up again. For pretty much the first time since her daughter-in-law was murdered, the Fire Nation shows up again and threatens her directly. Like, Zuko grabs her to threaten. The bald monk dude leaves with them, and then when she sees that her grandkids aren't letting this kid go, she packs their bags for them and sends them on their way. Like, she's so supportive.
Love her. Appreciate you, Gran. All right,
love
Tyler.
Gran. All my homies love Gran.
Yeah, Tyler. Let's close off with your favorite character.
Them home cooked lunches when you go to defeat an evil overlord. Thanks, Gran. So I have to go off topic. I'm going to do some honorable mention. Honorable mention to Tenzin in Legend of Korra for being like best dad and having such an interesting arc with the fact that he's the Avatar's airbending son and has all that to live up to while raising his own family. An interesting relation dynamic with his ex-girlfriend and his current wife. Like, just phenomenal Tenzin. Another honorable would be Ty Lee, just because of the dope fighting style and the interesting foil to Azula. And though it's not the most nuanced choice, I fucking love May, because who the fuck straps on bracers of knives to go fight people that wield the literal elements? This guy's like, I shoot fire. And she's like, cool, I'm gonna stab the fuck out of you. Which is why I wish there was just slightly more violence in the show, because I want to see May turn someone into a fucking pincushion from 30 yards away.
I do too. I love you, May. Love you, May.
Her only downfall would be a metal bender, and we can make daggers out of other shit. So, like...
Bamboo daggers.
Bay May.
Can you imagine?
Bay May. Yeah.
Like
Again,
a hardcore May versus Toph fight with the metal bending could be so interesting.
Yes.
So dope.
Yes.
So dope. And along the violence line, why do we give Sokka a literal sword, which is an edged weapon made for cutting, yet we really don't like violence in the show? But yeah, I have to go with May. Interesting character, doesn't change too much throughout, doesn't really have too crazy of an arc, but sticks to her values and has what I think is a very interesting fighting style, second only to chi blocking, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think I know that there was a lot to talk about when it came to ATLA, but do you think that's good enough for one episode?
I have one more thing to include.
Okay.
I must
So
include
do I.
it because I wrote it down.
All right.
My cabbages is said a total of 6 times throughout the series.
We love Cabbage Man. Shout out to Cabbage Man.
The
first time he
We all
shows
stand
up
Cabbage
is
Man.
episode 5, and he says it 3 times. He shows up in 3 more episodes throughout the entire series, never in the 3rd season, and each time he shows up, he says it 1 more time.
What a fucking Viggo Mortensen
Fun
breaking
fact.
his
There you
toe, like in the Lord of the Rings set. Fun fact. Love that.
Where was
Now you know.
Cabbage Man in the final fight? We should have had Cabbage Man
Okay,
lobbing
no,
cabbages.
the
at
writers
He had one more in the
the
season,
writers
in
knew
the
he was
final
too
season.
powerful for everybody.
He's too powerful.
At least he shows back
He
up
would have
in,
thrown one cabbage
Korra.
at Azula and ended that
he was-
Agni Kai right there.
Yeah, Ozai only got so far because he was only operating at 10% of his power.
All right,
That's all I
Marie-Soleil,
had
your
to
one
add.
thing.
I want the script of the play that the Ember Island players had, the play about the Last Airbender. I want that script.
Yes.
I want to see that play in full.
I love nothing more than cringe theater.
We can make
I
the
want
rest.
that.
We should put it on.
Whoa, hey, Dean, what the fuck? What did you just say? You call this shit cringe? You're cringe.
I am
Thank
cringe.
you. Coming to you
That's why the best
next
parts
year,
of this channel are
the
are you
InkGuild
guys.
presents the Ember Island players version of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes.
We just need to get noticed by like the studio creators and be like, hey, can you do this? Can we do this, please? Just a live
Maybe-
reading. Let's just do that, please.
Hey, Netflix.
Like, that was
Maybe-
one of the best
would be the
ways
one-
for them to do like a wrap up. This is what's happened over the last 3 seasons before we go into the final battle.
Yeah.
That'd be the one way they can fix the Netflix live action series.
Oh god, that'd be great. All right. So yeah, to the creators of Avatar, hope you're listening. We would like to do that. And just as another thing to the creators of Avatar, thank you for making this show. It's great. It's great for kids, great for adults. It's wonderful content. Yeah. I think so we're good. Nothing else needs to be said.
Are we good, Dean?
I mean,
Good night,
Yeah, we're
everybody.
all right. So I guess since we're all kind of exhausted on talking points for now, let's
All
start
plumped
wrapping.
up on that ATLA juice.
I mean, we haven't really expanded into Legend of Korra, but that might be later down the line. But for now, let's wrap up. So thanks everybody for listening in. You can find us on YouTube or Spotify at the InkGuild. On Spotify, it's the InkGuild podcast. You can also find us on social media. We are on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We have a Wix site in case you want to just have all of that information readily available to you, as well as little bio pages about us. You can check out all 12 of us, the 6 of us now, and then the other 12 or the other 6 that you can also find their episodes as well. And I think as a quick closing segment, I did this with the season 4 opener, and we'll do this again with the season 5 opener. But if you guys want to direct yourselves to the pinned messages in our chat, in our Discord, and look up the list of our episodes for this coming season, which ones are you excited about? Because I personally am excited for I'm excited for 3. I'm excited for the episode that we're going to be doing. So episode 52, slight spoiler. I'm not going to I would hope that people don't be an idiot like me and give out the title for it. But yeah, that has a very special twist that I will not say what, but yeah, we're going to be doing episode 52.
You'll goddamn find out.
I vote you bleep yourself saying that in the edit. Dean.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah,
I think that's your punishment.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I'm excited for episode 54, and I'm definitely excited for episodes 59 and 60, which I've already said in the beginning. Episode 60 is our season closer, and that is our workshop. But yeah, what about Alex? How about you?
Well, I'm excited for episode 53 for sure, and episode 56 for sure. Yeah, those are the 2 I'm most excited about, I think.
Gabe, how about you?
I think I too am also very excited for episode 52. I have things I want to say. We'll talk about that after we're done recording. Yeah, I'm very excited for how that's going to go. I am still in the preparation phase for that one, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for episode 51. I won't say what we're talking about again, but I think it's a episode format that I enjoy doing, so I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for episode, same as you, I'm excited for episode 54. Again, I won't say what it is, but it's an episode that I've been badgering you to do for for a while now. So I'm really glad that we're finally getting that one done.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be a really good one.
Brooke, how about you?
I'm excited for 53 and 54. Both of those should be very fun for me.
Nice. Marie-Soleil?
I'm looking forward to episode 50 and 53 and 56 and 60.
And Tyler, how about you?
I'm excited for 55 and 56, 60, and I'm deeply worried about 54.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, everyone else mirrors that. Everyone else can agree.
Yeah.
Wait, is it just because of chaos, or
it is going to be? Oh my god,
chaos, stigmatizing, polarized opinions, and way too much content that I am so deeply invested in. It's insane.
Yeah, it is going to be a mess episode.
It's going to be, and I think it's going to be a long one too.
The thing is, episode 54 is the episode right before I go on vacation.
Oh jeez.
So
I'm gonna be listening in on that with popcorn.
Yeah, my plan is, because I'm the one technically hosting that episode, I'm just gonna sit back and let you guys talk. I'll chime in when I can, but I'm just gonna let you guys go.
Yeah,
you need to get like a bell or something so that, like, if they get heated, like a wrestling bell, like the ding ding ding.
Yeah.
We're gonna close off now, Gabe. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for everybody listening, I hope you're just as excited as we are for all of the episodes that we have in store. This is going to be a very wild season because, again, not just because of our main season. However, I personally I don't want to put this on, like, I don't want to really define this yet until it happens, but I potentially have 2 really big projects in the works, and these guys don't know what that is yet. Well, they know one, but the other I'm keeping very top secret until tomorrow.
What?
This is edging.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I hope to God it works out, because I will look like an idiot, but I hope it works out, because it'll be fucking amazing. But aside from that, hopefully everyone listening is just as excited for this upcoming season as we are. And without wasting much time, then let's start let's end it. So thanks everybody for listening in, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.